Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bat Around. I'm your host, Paul Valley. He's my co-host and producer extraordinaire, Zachary Allen Goodman. We are live here on a Saturday in Towson, right outside of Baltimore, bringing you another edition of the Bat Around. Today's show is brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Right as the show was starting, there was a ladybug, I guess, on this on this blind right here, and it flew right at me right as I was starting to talk.
Can't wait till we get the landscaping people outside our window. That's a welcome Saturday morning treat as usual. I don't see them yet though, so
they'll be here.
They'll be here. I'm sure.
Trust,
they'll be here.
They will be here.
I trust.
We're not going to bury the lead here. We're not going to talk about anything to start before we talk about Felix Bautista, perhaps the best closer in baseball. And people will argue that he has 6 blown saves. Well, it just so happens that anytime that he happens, a lot of times he'll come in. Let me rephrase this. There's been times when he's come in with a 1-run lead and he'll throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, or he'll throw a splitter that hangs that just happens to get pummeled.
Yeah.
Because major league hitters get paid too.
Sure.
And most of them get paid a lot more than he does right now.
Yeah.
He's the best closer in baseball. There's nobody that comes close to him. He 100 at times 103-mile-an-hour fastball at the top of the zone, followed by an 88-mile-an-hour splitter that falls off the table in the bottom of the zone. Good luck. Best closer in baseball. He has 2 outs and 2 strikes in the top of the ninth inning last night with the Orioles clinging to a 1-run lead after a Gunnar Henderson 2-run shot, and throws a pitch to get to 2 strikes, to make it 1 and 2, and starts shaking his arm a little bit. And he calls out the trainers immediately, and he walks off the field.
Yeah. It's
not a good situation. Nobody wants to speculate. We don't know what it is, but we've all watched enough baseball in our lifetimes, even young Zachary Allen Goodman over there.
Zachary Allen.
To know that if you come off of the field with 1 strike left with an arm injury, it's probably not good.
No.
Right?
No.
We can make we're probably not wrong in making the assumption that this is, maybe it's not a serious injury, but it's an injury that's probably going to take him out for a good bit.
You would think.
I'd be shocked if it was anything other. Now, you're hoping it's not a torn UCL. You're hoping it's not something that's going to require Tommy John surgery, because then he's going to miss all of next year too.
Correct.
I am not doom and gloom like a lot of people in the fan base. And because the Orioles' current bullpen ERA without Felix Bautista is still 3.02. The Orioles' bullpen ERA without Felix Bautista on the season is 3.63. This is still a good bullpen.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And you're looking at a bullpen that just got back a healthy Danny Coulomb, that has Yennier Cano going 10 consecutive scoreless outings. Jacob Webb going 9 consecutive scoreless outings.
Yeah.
CNL Perez with a resurgence, 11 consecutive scoreless outings. Like I said, you got Danny Coulomb coming back, who just came back. You have DL Hall, Tyler Wells, and John Means, who are probably going to be part of this bullpen here in the very near future.
Yep.
Am I concerned that Felix Bautista might not be here? Yes, because he's Felix Bautista.
Right.
I would feel much more confident in this Orioles team with him at the back end of the rotation. Do I think it means that they can't win a World Series? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And people who keep telling, I'll point out the 2019 Nationals had Sean Doolittle and his 4.05
the worst bullpen
ERA.
in World Series history,
right.
Undoubtedly.
At that point, at the end of that season, they were the worst bullpen in the history of Major League Baseball.
Yep.
Now, the 2021 Orioles and the 2021 Philadelphia Phillies had something to say about that. But at that point in time, the Nationals bullpen was the worst in Major League history. And they won a World Series. And people will say, yeah, but they had Max Scherzer, and they had Steven Strasburg, and they had Patrick Corbin. That's fine.
It's a valid argument. I mean, that's the truth.
It is a valid argument. But those guys weren't closing games.
No.
Right?
No. course
and
not.
you're going to tell me that Kyle Bradish, who going into yesterday was tied for the best ERA in the American League and fourth best in all of baseball, you don't trust Kyle Bradish?
I do, but he's not.
Okay, he's not Max Scherzer. He's not Steven Strasburg,
who retired now this week, by the way.
That's perfectly fine. He's not those guys, but
right.
So you're just going to illegitimize a 3.03 ERA?
No.
Over 29 starts.
I think it comes down to more lack of experience. I mean, we haven't seen Kyle Bradish in a big moment yet, like a playoff game, and especially a World Series game.
That's the fair argument,
right? You can't take away anything from him as a pitcher solely,
right.
From a stuff standpoint, from a control standpoint, command standpoint. He's been just about the best starter in the American League.
But and Grayson Rodriguez has had a 3.04 ERA since coming back from AAA.
Yep.
He looks better. His last time out, he looked probably the worst I think that he's looked since he's been back, and he still gave you a 6 innings, a 3-run ball.
Yeah.
He was still quite good. People keep doubting this team.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's my overall point is people keep doubting this team. When Mullins went out, when Santander went out, when Tyler Wells went out, people kept doubting this team, and they keep winning. They went through the gauntlet in May, and what was their record in May? They were like 9 games above 500.
I don't remember.
Then they go through an even worse gauntlet coming out of the All-Star break, and they win 2/3 of their games in that gauntlet.
Yep.
So I don't care if you're scared that Felix Bautista's hurt and now the season's over. It's not over. Go watch the Ravens. Go watch them. Start focusing on the preseason game tonight that nobody's talking about. Go do that. Because the Orioles are going to keep winning baseball games. And the Orioles are going to go to the playoffs. And the Orioles are still going to have just as good a chance as anybody to make it to a World Series and win a World Series this year. You're not going to sit there and tell me that the season's over because one guy's done.
What will have to happen, though, is someone's going to have to step up. And it probably is going to be Coolum. I think Brandon Hyde has the most trust. I mean, we saw that last night with him throwing that final strike. Being a lefty, being a guy that has, a 2.77 ERA coming into last night's game, a little bit lower now.
In baseball.
He's been one of the best relievers in baseball. And, maybe Coolum hasn't really been a closer for his entire career. He's been not much in any kind of news at all throughout his entire career. This was the first time I had ever heard of him when the Orioles acquired him back in March, I believe it was. He's a guy who never really did much of anything throughout his whole career, but he was good enough to make it to age 33 and still be in the major leagues. And then this year he's had his breakout year where he's been really, really good across the board. Went on the injured list for a little while, and now he's back and pitching as well as ever. That's all great. That's a great thing.
It's hard to say pitching is he's thrown one pitch since coming off the IL.
It struck him out.
Strike three.
You're right. It's a bad way to phrase it. But the point is that Danny Coolum has been trustworthy all year, and the point is that he can probably be, most likely we would assume, a viable closer for the stretch, and that's a good thing if Felix Bautista cannot be here.
And let's not forget that just last year we were talking about Tyler Wells in spring training as potentially being the Orioles closer.
That's true.
As a rookie Rule 5 draft pick, he was closing games for the Orioles.
Well, a guy that has the similar build to Felix Bautista, being 6'8", 6'7", whatever Tyler Wells is, and a huge guy. He's overwhelming and throws harder than he does as a starter when he's a reliever. So that's a good thing.
You have DL Hall, who has learned how to throw strikes as a reliever.
Yeah.
Tyler Wells, who can throw 98 miles an hour out of the bullpen and had the lowest whip in baseball, the lowest batting average against in baseball, and the lowest on-base percentage in baseball prior to the All-Star break.
Right.
You're going to tell me that these guys can't come in here and have a closer by committee situation with some of the best pitchers in your system and can't help you win ball games.
So Cano has been really good lately, but and I saw you got in a little bit of a tweet argument about this. I saw you know what I'm talking about, correct?
Dude, who am I not in a tweet argument with?
That's true. That's true.
Right.
Well, I saw this, and I kind of agreed with you at first. Then he brought out some stats, and I look at it both ways with Cano. He had a stretch there where he wasn't so good. Now lately, he's been a little bit better.
Nobody brought out stats in my tweet argument. I was the only one that brought out stats.
Well, maybe that's the case. I don't know. Whatever stats were presented made him look a little better in the last few games that he's pitched. Do you trust him right now?
No.
When you talk about closer by committee, do you trust Cano?
No.
Okay.
But I'm not Brandon Hyde.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. Cano has turned it on.
That's what I'm saying. Right.
You can't doubt that. Do I think he should be the definitive guy that they go to now? Do I think he should earn the closer's role? No.
No.
We saw him come in the closer's role and blow it.
Right.
The one time well, not the one time. Earlier this year when they trusted him, people were saying, I had people texting me saying, Cano should be the Orioles closer right now when Felix Bautista had like 3 mediocre games for him in a row.
I think he might have given up like a solo home run in one of them, and people were just upset and beside themselves.
It was when Aaron Judge hit that hanging splitter.
That's right.
And
that's right.
My buddy texted me, Cano should be our closer now. I'm like, no, the hell he shouldn't.
Yeah.
No, the hell he shouldn't.
Cano's been great, but I think there's a lot less luck involved in what Felix Bautista has done all year than what Cano's done all year.
Yeah, Felix, to me, Cano puts too many guys on base.
He does.
I'd like to see somebody who keeps guys off base. I wouldn't hate it if they brought Tyler Wells up and said, hey, let's put you in the 9th inning.
Yep.
I wouldn't hate it if it was DL Hall, but DL Hall's got to come up to the big leagues and prove he can throw strikes in the big leagues. He's been doing it in the minors.
So what about Fujinami? Are you at all okay?
Absolutely
I'm
not.
with you. I'm with you.
Look, he was really good 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was he was really good. He was really good last night. 2 outings ago, he was really. He came.
Did he pitch last night?
He threw 2 innings last night.
Okay.
He threw 2 innings.
I only caught
night.
half the game, so I didn't see.
And,
I missed. I must.
Yeah, it was him and Bautista and Coulomb. He was really good last night. The outing before that, he was really good. 2 outings does not negate the fact that every other outing he goes in there and puts 2 guys on base and allows a home run.
Right.
You know, his ERA has been like close to 6 with the Orioles.
Never any idea what you're going to get. There's no consistency there. The stuff's really good, but the command's been all over the place. I agree with you. I mean, as much as I'd love to say, hey, you know, the stuff's so good that we can throw him out here in the 9th inning and he's going to get a save every once in a while, I don't know if they can trust him to do that. I just don't know. And the same thing goes for Cano and a lot of other of these guys. Brian Baker will probably find his way back to the team. He's not a guy to ever entertain.
He's not coming back.
You don't think so?
No, because you were already looking for how are you going to get Hall, Means, and Wells up here.
I think he's 1 injury away from being back, though.
Well, everybody's 1 injury from being back.
I guess.
I mean, you're 1 injury away.
I just don't think I wouldn't rule it out.
You're 1 injury away from Joey Crable being back.
Yeah.
You know, you're 1 injury away from Colton Cowser being back.
I wouldn't mind Joey Crable being back. I didn't think he pitched that bad. I really didn't.
Bro.
He has... look, he actually was... He had a blow up in spring training, multiple of them, which I think made people change their minds a little bit about. Last year, he wasn't so bad. But again, the expectations were different.
You're remembering the first half of the season. From the middle of July to the end of the year, he was awful to the point where he got demoted.
I remember.
His ERA was above 7. I think it was above 7. I know it was above 6 the second half. Your bullpen is going to have. I mean, you replace Bautista with Wells. You're going to add 2 players. Maybe it's maybe they're both relievers. I don't know how that works. I don't know if it's that you can't bring up 2 bullpen pieces. I don't know, but you're going to have. You're not going to have space for a guy like Baker. Hall, Wells, Means take precedence over Baker, over Crable, over Vespi, right? So
Ryan and I talked about Nick Vespi last week quite a bit because Ryan loves Nick Vespi. Huge on Nick Vespi. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't really... There's some really good outings from Nick Vespi where you go, maybe you can ignore the fact that he throws 90 miles an hour. But then there's other ones that really show that. Yeah. So I'm kind of in the middle. I don't really think that's a piece.
Have you ever faced 90 miles an hour?
Yes. There's a batting cage up in Hunt Valley that actually goes to 100.
Oh, really?
And it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary.
It is hard.
Yeah. Undoubtedly.
Those batting cages, can you see? Is it one of the ones with the arms coming forward? You can see that.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, no,
have
that sucks. That sucks because how you have
the timing's really hard.
Yeah,
really hard.
You go to a batting cage and the ones with the arm. When you're playing in a baseball game, you can see a pitcher's arm coming forward, and you know when to start your swing.
Correct.
Because these big league players, they don't have. It's not pitch recognition and then swing.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a breaking ball. If they're getting a fastball, you got to get it's the amount of time it takes. You have 0.4 of a second to decide whether or not to swing. Mm-hmm. That's super fast. To get started, you have to get started as soon as you see the arm get about here.
Right.
Right? Again, in those cages when there's no arm, because I went to the one on in Parkville, near Play It Again Sports.
Okay.
And that one, it throws pretty hard, and there's no arm. That sucked.
Yeah.
I was hitting it, but not to start.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's difficult. And the whole reason I bring it up is because 90 miles an hour in the big leagues is really slow. 90 miles an hour to the average person is really,
Right.
really 80 miles an hour is really fast.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And
really fast.
look, I mean, that's why I talked about it with Felix Bautista earlier in the season. There's going to be games where he gives up a solo home run to Aaron Judge, or he gives up the grand slam like he did not that long ago. There are going to be those things that happen because, again, guys can hit. If 100 is down the middle, even though it's Felix Bautista, even though it's Aroldis Chapman, whoever it is, guys can still hit it once in a while. It's Major League Baseball is a whole different breed from the minor leagues, from college baseball, from everything, because there are just so many good hitters.
These guys are freaks.
Right, and I would say a lot of guys are probably guessing, but then there are the really, really talented guys. Adley Rutschman, I think, is one of them. Ohtani's one of them, that just know the zone and see the ball so unbelievably well that they can see what's going to come, and they have the idea of being able to recognize a pitch, and that's a really, really, really tough thing.
All the hate that we give to Ryan McKenna, he's a freak.
Oh, of course.
He's a freak of nature.
Best player in his high school's history, all that, I'm sure. I mean,
like Ryan McKenna is an absolute freak of nature. He can do something that 99.99999% of people in the world cannot do.
Correct.
He doesn't do it as well as other people.
It's Major League Baseball.
That's in Major League Baseball. There's what is it? 786 players. Mm-hmm. There's 700. Yeah, whatever.
And 20 something thousand all time.
Yeah,
I mean,
such
a low number.
780 people in the world can do what they can do. It's crazy. But Felix Bautista, him being out, it sucks. It's not the end of the world. The sky isn't falling. The Orioles can overcome this, and they have plenty of guys who can come in there. It just blows my mind that people think that one guy is the difference on the team. And yes, I know they've played 34 one-run games. They're 23-11 in one-run games. I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, Felix Bautista's blown 6 saves. I think he leads the major league closers in blown saves. So to me, it's all right. Next man up. Because what other choice do you have? I'm not going to sit there and be doom and gloom about it because I trust this team. I believe in this team.
For sure.
They're 32 games above 500 in the hardest division in baseball.
For sure.
So, Orioles Rockies last night. Cole Irvin, he goes 6 innings, 6 hits, 1 walk, 5 Ks, 4 earned runs. Not as crisp as he's been recently. He's still throwing a lot of strikes, which is good because a guy like him, they have to hit their spots. Because he throws 94, but 94 used to be 15, 20 years ago. It was really, really fast,
and it doesn't necessarily move a lot.
Yeah,
so it's a pretty flat 94.
Yeah. So, but he kept his team in the ball game. Gunnar Henderson, man, you're watching that game and you're just kind of feeling like the Orioles are just kind of like being a little too aggressive. They're not working counts here. You don't have trust. You're just kind of feeling like you're dead in the water. And not having trust is not the right way to put it. You just kind of felt like they were dead in the water.
Sure.
And then facing a lefty who's only given up 2 home runs to lefties all year.
Yeah, Brent Suter had a good year before this.
Yeah. He hangs one to Gunnar, and Gunnar hits a 107-mile-an-hour line drive that never got higher than the top of the scoreboard off the ground.
Right.
And it goes for a 2-run homer and gives the Orioles the win. And that's what got lost in all this is Gunnar Henderson with one of the biggest hits of the year last night to give the Orioles a victory. And we're all talking about Felix Bautista. But Gunnar, what a show he put on last night. Ryan Mountcastle, 2 for 4 with a home run. Austin Hayes, 2 for 3 with a double and a home run last night. And let's talk about Austin Hayes a little bit here. He came out of the All-Star break. He got a hit in like 3 games consecutively coming out of the All-Star break and then fell off a cliff. His batting average dropped like 30 points. And now all of a sudden, you look since August 3rd, 306, 386, 644 with a 1,030 OPS since August 3rd. He's been hitting. He's got a 9-game hitting streak. I think he's got 10 extra base hits in his last 9 games. He's got a 9 or 10-game hitting streak. Gunnar Henderson has a 9-game hitting streak. Anthony Santander, 3 home runs since coming back from his 3-day respite to rest his back. Between Hayes, Santander, and Mountcastle, who just had his 2 days ago had his 28-game one-base streak snapped and then started a new one last night.
Yep.
Between these 3 guys, these are the 3 guys that last year I was saying, look, I like them on the team, but I don't like them hitting 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Now they're 3 of the best hitters in your lineup.
For now.
Yeah. But the point is, I mean, Mountcastle's been hitting well above 300 over Probably being back 40+ games.
It's extended enough of a streak now where I've been a little more confident and said, hey, maybe the vertigo is actually a really big deal for him, and maybe this was there last year, and who knows? I mean, that's a thing that really affects a lot of people strongly. It's not just a lack of confidence or something. It's a whole different ballgame. So I think that could certainly have played a part last year, early this year. Now without it being there, at least from what we know, he's been far better. Far better. And Ryan and I talked about Hayes and Santander last week on the show. And what we kept mentioning was, streaky hitters, guys that you don't really know what you're going to get from either. They've been good as of late. I just hope it continues down the stretch. You get a whole other month of regular season ball before you go into the playoffs, and then it's got to keep rolling over.
And look, we're all hypercritical of players when they start to slump. And sometimes we forget that the Major League Baseball season is the longest season in professional sports.
Yeah.
It's 6 months. It's 162 games in 180 days, plus spring training, plus the postseason. It is a long time that they play baseball.
Yep.
And have you ever played 3, 4, 5 days in a row, played a doubleheader? Your body's tired. And these guys do this for 6 to 8 months.
Right.
They do this for 6 to 8 months. It's hard. Anthony Santander, I mean, look at how bad he was since the All-Star break. Gets the rest for 3 days for his 3 games. I think it was 4 days total for his lower back. Comes in and hits 3 home runs in 2 days. Austin Hayes, because of how badly he dropped off during this period, his batting average dropped 30 points in 3 weeks.
Right.
Because of how badly he slumped, we forget that he only slumped for 3 weeks. It was a 3-week stretch. He was probably dealing with something, and now he's tearing the cover off the ball again.
Austin Hayes is always dealing with something, as unfortunate as it is. But.
Which is why, like, what was it, last night when you see him jump up like Spider-Man, as they said, on top of the fence, you're like, oh, God, come on, man. You're hitting again. Please don't do that.
There's always something with Austin Hayes, and that's what we mentioned last week. It's hard to avoid that when talking about him because there is, in his career, that history of there being running into a basin and hurting his finger or running into a wall or whatever it is. Austin Hayes is always finding a little injury, and hopefully we pray that doesn't happen down the stretch because, again, I mean, you have a whole month of regular season ball to play. You're only 3 games ahead of the Rays. These things need to stay healthy and to keep working because right now it's working. You certainly don't want to lose Austin Hayes. 314 hitter at the All-Star break. Yeah. Down to 280, now back up to
284.
284. Yep.
284. And he had that walk in the 8th inning last night, right before was he the one who walked and then Henderson?
Yes, it was.
He had that walk right before Henderson hit the home run.
Because Suter threw like 4 pitches that were not even close, and then Hayes, I think, swung at one of them. So it was a 5-pitch at-bat.
It's so funny because ever since you pointed it out, I have noticed Austin Hayes check swings
every time
at more pitches than anybody in baseball.
He does.
Which is, again, it goes back to the point that you've got to get started early against big league pitchers if you want to have any chance.
Yep.
You've got to get started early.
Your hands got to always be moving. Like you look at Barry Bonds and his stance and how his hands were always moving in his stance. He's one of the best hitters of all time, if not the best hitter of all time.
Barry Bonds, he's a monster. He was a monster.
I mean, but his hands. My point is, his hands are always moving. He was always ready to be able to start his swing at any time, and I think that's a really big quality for a lot of guys.
And Barry Bonds will tell you, he's like, he said, I didn't need steroids to hit home runs. He's like, I could have been the skinniest guy in the league and still hit more home runs than most of the league.
He had like a 40-40 season in like 92, didn't he? Like way before he ever...
Dude, he won 7 MVPs. He won 4 MVPs before he ever did steroids.
He didn't get big until 2000 or so.
It was like 99,
and then,
98, 99. Yeah. And basically it was...
he saw other guys doing it, got jealous. That's what I've heard.
I don't like to say... I guess there's no other word for it other than jealous, but he's watching... I mean, he's in the midst of another 40-40 season in 98, and he's watching guys like Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa get all the headlines because of what they were doing with the home run race. And he said, I'm better than both of these guys by a good bit. And they're only beating me out for headlines because they're using steroids. Okay.
Goes out and hits 73 and 01.
Watch Barry Bonds take steroids and see what the hell happens.
I honestly think, though, and I don't want to make this into a Barry Bonds discussion, and it doesn't absolve him from anything he's done, by the way, but just to say, if he hadn't done roids, what he could have done as a base stealer throughout his whole career and how many bases he would have racked up throughout his career, along with home runs. I mean, he wouldn't have had 700 home runs most likely, but he would have gotten pretty close.
He would have been a 500 homer, 500 steal guy.
Right.
Because
right.
he was a 400 homer, 400 steal guy before steroids.
Right. What did he end up stealing base-wise?
I think he had like 500 and some.
Okay.
He stole a lot of bases. Before he ever started using steroids, he was
514.
Yeah. Before he ever started using steroids, he was a 400 guy.
He might have gotten to 600 if he hadn't done roids, because those 7 years where he was, I mean, obviously he slowed down once he was 42 and
I think
all that.
I think in like 2004, he still stole like 15 bags.
He stole 6 bags in 04. He didn't steal any more than 10 from 2002 to 2007. And he was also in his late 30s and 40s. So
late 30s, early 40s. I mean,
right.
Didn't he still hit like 290 his final season?
He hit in 2004, he hit 362, and all the way until 2007, he had a 480 on base percentage in 2007. Mm-hmm. He had a 276 batting average, 1,045 OPS.
Yeah.
The guy was just the greatest hitter
to
live.
That year injured. And I think it was 2003 maybe, where he reached base more. He had more times reaching base than he had at bats.
I think you're right.
In the season, he had like 363 at bats and reached base like 366 times.
And if he hadn't been intentionally walked 688 times in his career, this guy would have just been, which is just unreal. It's unreal.
Stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, Buck Showalter, and it worked. He walked him with the bases loaded in the 9th inning, and it worked because the Diamondbacks ended up winning that game. But man, my poor wife just sent me a text message, and I missed the show last week. Because she had a medical emergency. She's fine. She's good to go now. Just a little bit of a scare, but we're good to go. She texted me and she says, I fell down the stairs again, which is scary. It's scary when you hear your pregnant wife fell down the stairs, but when my wife falls down the stairs, it's because her feet slip out from under her, butt hits the steps, and she bounces down a couple of steps. She said, I fell down the stairs again, and I banged my arm. And my poor wife... Stairs and flat tires are my wife's nemesis. She'll get 4 flat tires a year, and she'll fall down the stairs feet first, probably four or 5 times a year. Just her absolute nemesis. So I'm sorry, babe, that she fell down.
Do you have carpet on your stairs, or do you have?
We do.
Okay.
I mean, either way, it's because she's constantly walking around in her socks.
Okay.
She's just it sucks. But she doesn't tumble head first and like roll down the stairs.
That's good. Obviously
the feet come out from under her. Her butt hits the ground and she slides.
Oh,
I've seen it happen a number of times, and one time she really hurt her elbow when she did it. But other than that, she's generally fine. That's
good.
But
that's good.
Anyway, joining us on the show for his weekly segment, he is Stan the Fan. Charles, Stan, good morning. How are you?
Well, we understand now why she falls. Why is she getting flat tires? Is that because her husband isn't buying new tires for her?
Oh no, she gets new tires all. Stan, she makes more money than I do. She gets flat tires just in these random spots, and a lot of times she runs over a nail. She's quite unlucky.
No.
Kind of like the Orioles, a little bit unlucky last night. Felix Bautista, Stan, with 2 outs and 2 strikes, has to come off the field with an apparent arm injury. They said it was arm discomfort. We're waiting to hear more. If he's lost for an extended period, how big is this blow to the Orioles?
Well, I mean, of course it would be a tremendous blow, but you never know in sports. You know that expression of "next man up"
right.
that we became familiar with Brian Billick, "next man up." Sports is continually always about the next man up. You know, it would be a devastating blow, but we don't know. We don't know for a fact that Shintaro Fujinami or Tyler Wells or D.L. Hall or Jake Webb doesn't suddenly rise to the occasion,
right? And
the team doesn't miss a beat, because it really is about covering one inning. You know what I mean? It's not. It's and as great as he is, and the frustrating part of it is he overthrew that pitch, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be some kind of muscle strain. I don't think it's like all of a sudden he's got a Tommy John injury or anything like that from one pitch. But he overthrew the guy hitting 113 with 2 out in the 9th inning. It was very frustrating, of course.
Yeah, trying to blow him away with emphasis, and I get it. I've been there myself, and it's
it's part and parcel. Not to interrupt you. It's part and parcel of that whole machismo about turning the lights off, and he gets into that, and he feeds off of it. And this one pitch, he just did something that was, in my opinion, a little foolish, and it combined that he overthrew the pitch, sort of slipped, and probably pulled something. We don't know where it is, whether it's in his shoulder, in his tricep, bicep. So we'll find out more, and we'll deal with it as we have to.
Does it make you nervous that he didn't even throw a warm-up pitch to see if he could continue?
I heard Ben McDonald said that. Not really. Not really.
I get it. You want to be cautious.
He felt something, and he self-diagnosed that that would be meaningless. He wasn't going to be able to continue.
And it's funny, Stan. I had in my notes that I had to change them a little bit. I had in my notes that the bullpen's been incredible recently, and I was going to include Bautista in that. I had to change it. Cionel Perez has gone 11 straight scoreless outings. Yenier Cano 10, Jacob Webb 9. You have Danny Coulomb back, who got the ball for that final strike in the 9th inning. You have D.L. Hall, Tyler Wells, John Means on their way back. And you already alluded to, you don't know who's going to close for this team when he comes back. But this bullpen, Stan, has been really good. And you look at their August ERA, and this includes giving up 12 runs in 3 days to the Houston Astros. Their bullpen ERA in the month of August is 2.73. This bullpen is a weapon, and I feel like they're only going to get stronger as we get down to the playoff run here.
Well, I mean, let's not say they're going to get stronger with the potential loss of Bautista.
Right.
We don't know, but I would agree with you that Cano is really sort of. Here's the frustrating part: is Cano with Fujinami and Webb, he's been able to use Cano less, which has refreshed him some. His stuff has some life on it, and that's really promising. And Webb has been really a great pickup, And let's not kid ourselves. Despite one or two blips on the radar screen and the fact that we sort of don't trust him in the 9th inning, Fujinami, when he throws strikes, he's really pretty unhittable.
Yeah, his stuff is real. He's like Bautista light when he throws strikes. It's just a matter of honing that. I think that the bullpen has an opportunity here they might skip a little bit of a beat, but not so much so that they're going to fall apart and the season's over. I don't believe that the season's over.
Agreed. This team is too good as a team to let one injury devastate it. I think, And look, it's the nature of sports. Look at Tampa. I dropped them the last 2 weeks. They've been number 10 in my power rankings, based on not their record, but based on losing 3 starters and now Wander Franco, and they're 7-3 in their last 10 games. They've bounced back and played well because they. A couple players down devastate the team, and they have shown some remarkable resiliency, and I expect the Orioles to do the same.
I do too. I really do.
Having said that, my fingers and toes are crossed that this is not something serious.
Yeah, if he has to miss a little bit of time, get him back, get him healthy, get him back for the stretch run, and that I'll be good with that. Now, it could end up being the blessing that it in other words, he gets a refresh of 2.5, 3 weeks. Yeah,
and then those are innings that he doesn't. But we don't know the nature of the injury. So we'll keep our fingers crossed.
We certainly do not. And I made the comparison that the 2019 Nationals, for example, won a World Series with Sean Doolittle closing games for them, and people said to me, Well, they have Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg and Patrick Corbin. And that brings me to the Orioles rotation, Stan. And you look at Kyle Bradish. He's got the 5th lowest ERA in baseball, the 2nd lowest in the American League. Grayson Rodriguez has a 3.24 ERA in 7 games started since his return. Dean Kramer, 3.70 ERA over his last 20 starts and a 3.06 ERA over his last 9 starts since the beginning of July. I look at that rotation, and do you trust those 3 guys? Maybe throw Jack Flaherty in there if he's healthy. Do you trust those guys in a postseason series to be able to hand the ball over to the bullpen with a lead?
It's not on paper. It's not the most outstanding, starting rotation I've ever seen. But as they've grown a little bit, I still think the world of baseball is reeling. Baseball pitching, the specific planet of baseball pitching, is still reeling from not having really figured out how to ramp people back up to pitch, 180 to 220 innings.
Right.
I mean, it's just, and again, I always allude to fantasy baseball. I had about a 3-week stretch where all of my starting pitching collapsed all at once, and I'd been in first place in all the pitching categories, ERA ratio, and then all of a sudden I got to 10th place, and in about 3 or 4 days I bounced back, not greatly, but I'm back in first place in those categories because pitching is exhausted throughout the sport right now.
That's true.
So the notion that we're going to get beat in the playoffs because Framber Valdez and Christian Javier and Justin Verlander are all going to pitch 8 innings every game against us if we play them. It's just not. That's not the way the playoffs are anymore. It's nothing but a bunch of 4 and 5 inning starts. If a starter goes 6 innings in a playoff game and gets through the 6th, that's a lot. So it's really about how strong your bullpens are that dictate postseason success, in my opinion.
Yeah, you want to have a good starting pitcher, but generally speaking, starting pitchers are going 5 innings in the playoffs, and you're handing it over to a bullpen.
They're going around the order twice.
Yeah. So for me, I have confidence in this bullpen and enough confidence in guys like Kyle Bradish and Grayson Rodriguez that they can go into a playoff series, and just with how good they are, they can keep the Orioles in ball games. So I'm willing to ride with this team, with this pitching staff, and see them make a pretty deep run here this season. Now, to get a lead,
I just want to throw one thing out that I'm still, me about bullpen, starters in the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not sure that Grayson Rodriguez in the postseason wouldn't be a more significant weapon to come in a series twice as a 2-inning pitcher in the 6th and 7th innings
mm-hmm.
than he is as starting one game in a series.
You may be right.
So I just want to throw that out because everybody, like Luke the other day, goes, okay, you're in a series. It's Bradish 1, Kramer 2, Grayson 3. Everybody's dismissing Kyle Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
And look what Gibson did he really looked pretty good this last outing.
Yeah, he's dominated the Blue Jays this year. And that's the thing with Kyle Gibson is, he'll give you a nice stretch where he's giving you quality start after quality start, and then he'll have a stretch where he's given up 4 runs in 5 innings, 7 runs in 6 innings, and you know what I mean? It's confounding. But but yeah, no, I have confidence in this Orioles rotation and in this Orioles bullpen, but you have to get a lead to hand the lead over to the bullpen, and it brings me to Austin Hayes, Anthony Santander, and Ryan Mountcastle. All 3 of these guys have heated up. You look at Austin Hayes, he had a 3-week stretch in July where he was so bad his batting average dropped 30 points. Anthony Santander, since the All-Star break at one point, was hitting about 180. And Mountcastle, we know what happened with him with the whole vertigo. But now Santander, he gets a 3-game rest with the lower back injury, comes out, hits 3 home runs in 2 days. Austin Hayes has a 306, 386, 644 slash line with a 1030 OPS since August 3rd. And you look at those guys, and Stan, last year I was saying, I like these guys in the Orioles lineup, but not hitting 3, 4, 5. Now you have them in there, and who would you rather have hitting 3, 4, 5 for this Orioles lineup? And with these guys all getting hot and swinging well at the same time, how does this Orioles offense stack up against the rest of baseball with them swinging the way they are?
It stacks up well enough to first place in what everybody thought was going to be by far the toughest division in all of baseball, and it still is in some ways. Despite the Yankees sort of collapsing in front of us, it's a pretty decent offense.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question about it. And one of the attributes it has is, again, this is something that dawned on me about 3 weeks ago, is how this team that was so horrible for 3-4 years, and even in the 3-4 years prior to that when we were contenders, they still did not work starting pitchers, very hard.
Mm-hmm.
They were a pretty easy team to get through. They're when they're hitting on all cylinders, they're tough to get through, and especially when these hitters really make pitchers work, So it's exciting. There's no question about that. That win last night was just absolutely phenomenal. Henderson hits that home run off of Brent Suter, who, let's not kid ourselves, he's a very good left-handed reliever. In 58 innings this year, he's given up 2 home runs, and in 76 at-bats against left-handed hitters, he's given up 1 home run. So Gunnar Henderson was the second home run by a left-hander Suter had given up all year this year.
Yeah, and it was an incredible swing at 107 miles an hour. That ball got out in a split second. It was and Stan, that's what got lost in all this, and what should have been an incredible come from behind victory, and it was, for all intents and purposes, it was an incredible come from behind victory. We lose the fact that Gunnar Henderson did that because of the Felix Bautista injury.
Yep.
And it was just the Orioles' 39th comeback win of the season. They're now 23-11 in one-run games, and that's why maybe people aren't giving this team enough credit. That that's why I'm not doom and gloom. They've proved us wrong all year. I'm going to stop doubting them. I can't doubt that this team's going to bounce back in a big way from a potentially devastating injury.
Yeah. We never know in sports. Sometimes I'll never forget the year that the Knicks, this is dating myself, it was 1973 or 4, the Knicks' Willis Reed was hurt going into the championship round. And the Knicks somehow were able to stay afloat against the Lakers, and then Willis Reed in a famous, I think it was the Game 7, I always forget the detail, he hobbled out and started the game and gave them about 15 minutes and lifted the team up. But you never know how teams are going to respond to an injury. Sometimes it makes their resolve even a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
Stan, there's a question from a viewer, AJ. I believe you know AJ a little bit. He has a question for you.
Sure.
Due to advanced scouting, we have destroyed the AL East this year, but have sucked against the National League. Any worries about that if we make the World Series?
Let me try to wrap my hands around that. Zach, real quick, have we sucked against the National League?
I would have to check the numbers.
2 out of 3 to the Dodgers.
I can look into the numbers.
We lost 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers. I'm trying to think where else we've sucked against the National League.
They went 20-16 in interleague play this year, so I don't think they sucked against the National League at all.
Yeah. No. First of all, no, I'm not. I'm not afraid of that. My biggest question about the Orioles and their ability to be in and win a World Series is whether this team is sort of what's the word I want to use? Is whether they're tested enough and whether their resolve is enough. I asked, I may have mentioned this, stop me if I'm repeating myself. I asked Al Bumbry that question when the 40th anniversary team, I asked him the question about whether that 83 team did, in some ways, did it because they wanted to prove that they could do it without Earl Weaver, that Earl Weaver was getting so much of the credit that they wanted in '83 without a belly managing. They went out and wanted just to prove that they were the team, not it wasn't Earl's team. And he said, nope, that had nothing to do with it. We were pissed off from 1979 that we blew that World Series when we were up 3-1 against the Pirates. The Orioles haven't had that kind of moment that they're hungry about, other than naturally being hungry to win. And sometimes I don't know if that's enough. In other words, whether this team is a little too young to really, spread their wings enough to win the World Series.
Yeah,
but we're going to find out.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, and yeah, no matter what happens, I mean, you get worried. We were worried last night until Gunnar hit that home run. The Orioles might lose the first game of the series to the Colorado Rockies. So you're always going to be worried in a given situation. But once you get to the World Series, all bets are off. I'm not looking at any kind of analytics or how they did against the National League or how they did against that guy or this guy or that guy. You're in the freaking World Series. All that stuff to me goes out the window. Go play some baseball. You know what I mean? So. Yep. That's just how I kind of look at it. If they get there, I'm going to be so thrilled that they're there. And it's not. I'm never been a guy that's like, I'm just happy to be here, type of thing when it comes to professional sports teams. But I'm going to be thrilled that they're there. I've never seen them in the World Series. So, Stan, somebody who never made a World Series but had a huge impact in Baltimore is Adam Jones, and he's retiring as an Oriole on September 15th at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. I don't know if I'm assuming the ceremony is probably prior to the game against the Rays that night. But Stan, what did Adam?
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah, and Stan, what did Adam Jones mean to the Orioles, and where does he rank all time amongst players in this franchise's history?
I haven't added up the exact number. I mean, he's not Eddie Murray. He's not Cal Ripken. He's not Boo Powell, Jim Palmer. He's not in the top 5 or 6. But you don't get through the top 10 of this organization, about top 10 most important Orioles, without Adam Jones being on that list.
Yeah.
He was the player that kind of willed this team. He fell in behind Buck Showalter and became Buck's sort of sergeant on the team, and he did a lot of the necessary stuff to help this team reconstruct itself into a winning mentality. Adam's one weakness in his game was he had too much swing and miss. He wasn't quite disciplined. You look at the greatest players in the game, and Frank Robinson is at the top of the list to me as far as still who the best Oriole of all time was. Even though he only played for the team for 6 or 7 seasons, he was the greatest player I saw. Probably second greatest, really, was and Murray and Alomar were really, to me, comparable in some ways. But Adam Jones, if he had been able to get 15 more hits a year, he'd be in that tier. But his strikeout to walk ratio was and his on base percentage isn't in that same class. But that doesn't diminish how important he was to ushering in a new winning era of Oriole baseball.
And Stan, at some point towards the beginning of last year's baseball season, when Glenn and Rita had Adam on their show on 105.7, Adam said that the Orioles hadn't reached out to him in 4 years. He hadn't heard from them since he left the team. It seemed as though that relationship may have been, if not fractured, if not frayed, if not fractured. How far has this team gone in rebuilding that relationship with Adam to the point where he was Mr. Splash a few weeks back? Now he's retiring as an Oriole on the field prior to the game. How far has this team come in repairing that relationship?
Well, it looks like it's pretty much all the way back to what it should have been all along. Look, Adam took advantage in his mind of his 5 and 10 year rights to negate that trade to the Phillies. The club was, I'm sure Dan Duquette was very disheartened by it, and the club was sort of pissed off because it had to come up with an extra couple $1 million to pay him for those last 2 months of his final season in an Oriole uniform. But to his credit, everybody likes to dump on John Angelos right now. But to his credit, it was a relationship, and I'm not sure who went first, whether Adam reached out to John or John reached out to him. But I think they've had a meeting of the ways that he's an important Oriole in the history of the franchise. And, with all due respect to Adam and his importance in that, remember these 4 years that there was no dialogue. The Orioles were in the midst of a very deep rebuild and a survival mode as a franchise during the pandemic. Everybody likes to point out how much money the Orioles are making now and bashing John Angelos. But remember, they didn't have any cash revenue coming in from ticket sales for about 2.5 seasons, And I think people ought to remember that a little bit.
It's a fair point.
This again, I always point to this. Do I know the Angelos family books? No. Do I know how they have their estate planning set up? But this is not the guy. John is not the guy with the money. And that changes the club's ability, how they could have spent money. Now, that doesn't defend his comments in the New York Times where he was talking about, unless we get these, concessions from the state and we get these other revenue streams, we're not going to be able to afford keeping these players unless we raise ticket prices tremendously. I don't think that was an appropriate line of discussion right now.
Yeah, I agree with you on that point. Adam Jones, to kind of close there, nobody's worn number 10 in Baltimore since he left. Will anybody wear number 10 in Baltimore ever again?
I don't know if they'll retire the number, but I think it'll be a while before anybody wears it again. But it's a good point. They immediately gave. I still the player that hurts me the most is Musina. They immediately gave Josh Towers number 35.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
Yeah, that was a bad look. And that's forever changed because Rutschman is a 35. He always wore 35. So that number won't get retired. But Adam's pretty darn close to the top 5 guys there, that are out there.
Yeah,
with statues.
I agree with you. And now Stan, somebody who's definitely going to have their number retired at some point is Shohei Ohtani. He tears his UCL again. It looks like he's probably headed for a second Tommy John surgery. And he's going to stay and hit for the Angels to finish the year. How bad? I mean, the Angels have not won more than they've lost since they were under 500 when they decided to keep him and go for it. They've been under 500 since making that decision. How bad do the Angels look for not trading him at the deadline because of that, and now because of the what's probably going to be Tommy John surgery? And how does this injury impact his negotiations when considering his negotiations for his contract, considering he's a free agent at the end of the year, and now he's not going to pitch next year?
Yeah, well, his ability, his earning ability for next year is in some real jeopardy. I'm sure some team will still take him on, but if he's waiting another 6 weeks to have that surgery, he's put his ability to get on the field much before, say, July 1st next year. I mean, Bryce Harper did it because he was only going to hit. Mm-hmm. But I think Bryce Harper was a bit of a freak in terms of how quickly he was ready to go.
And his power only just came back.
What's that?
And Harper's power only just came back. He had 3 home runs through July.
It's not like you got the Bryce Harper that you're paying all that money for these first 6 weeks he's been back. He's just starting to really, round into form. Look, it's what happens when you have ownership that butts in. The story that is most infuriating to me is how Rick Hahn and Ken, what's his name, the White Sox president of baseball operations.
Ken Williams.
Ken Williams, right.
Yeah.
They both lost their job. Did they decide to fire Rich Renteria and bring in an obviously befuddled and lessened Tony La Russa? It's a real shame that those guys, their decision-making was bypassed by Jerry Reinsdorf, and yet Jerry Reinsdorf owns the team. So 2 years later, when the whole thing has gone to hell, the real culprit in it is Jerry Reinsdorf, not Rick Hahn and Ken Williams. And it's a similar situation with the Angels. When you don't let your baseball people make decisions, it was very similar to, Dan Duquette. He wanted to trade. He knew he wasn't going to re-sign Manny Machado. He wanted to trade him the year before, when you could have gotten really a real haul for him.
Right.
And in reality, all we've gotten out of him, although nicely, is Dean Kramer.
Yeah.
That's not an equal trade. And it was silly for Peter Angelos. No, it's not fair to the fans to trade, trade Machado. We've got to go all out. Sometimes you have to be realistic about what your team's chances are. And the Orioles' chances in 2017 weren't very good on July 20th or whereabout. They should have made that trade then.
Yeah,
and they should have traded Britton too then.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Stan. So, Stan, what do you got coming up this week?
It'll be the boys Monday at 4. Ross and Luke and myself will discuss and kick around the Orioles and other baseball action. And then we'll have a midweek guest. It'll probably be, actually, I'm doing Dr. Sandy Siegel from Chesapeake Urology, the CEO of Chesapeake Urology. I'm doing that Wednesday at 4:30 in the afternoon. He's got that big race coming up in September, the Zero Prostate Challenge, a run walk, where people get people to pledge money that goes to prostate cancer, research. And then Thursday I'll have somebody, don't know yet who that'll be.
3 for Stan this week. We're looking forward to it, Stan. We will.
3 for. Yeah.
And we will talk to you next Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. All right.
All right. Keep your fingers crossed.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
See ya. Now, with Stan the Fan, Charles, who has changed up the format for his weekly shows. Now, every Monday at 6 p.m., Stan will be joined by former Orioles pitcher Ross Grimsley and Press Box's managing editor Luke Jackson to break down the latest with the Birds. Every Thursday night, Stan and Gary Stein will chat with a different newsmaker from the world of sports. This week, Stan was joined by Press Box Ravens beat writer Bo Smolka. You can watch the shows live at Facebook.com/PressBox or find them the next day at PressBoxOnline.com/video and YouTube.com/PressBox Online. So join Stan, Ross, and Luke this and every Monday night. Special start time this week of 4 o'clock for Stan, Ross, and Luke on Monday. All right, we're going to catch a break. When we come back in, we're going to do Sounding Off with Zach Goodman and the payoff pitch around the league. That's next on the Bat Around.
You feel that? That's the sound of football coming back, and now's the time to place your preseason bets with Superbook Sports. Superbook is the most trusted name in Vegas, and now you can use my promo code GlennClark23 to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they'll match your first bet up to $250 with the promo code GlennClark23, all one word, no spaces, 2 N's in Glenn. Don't miss out this football season. Win some money with Superbook Sports and that promo code GlennClark23. Visit Superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I'm Michael Jangrandi, president of AJ Michaels, your carrier energy expert for 44 years. Save money, energy, and make your home more comfortable and virus-free. Find us at ajmichaels.com. That's ajmichaels.com.
Hey Birdland, Felix is coming when the Orioles take on the Colorado Rockies at Camden Yards on Saturday, August 26th at 7:05. Be one of the first 20,000 fans 15 and over in attendance to receive a Felix Bautista bobblehead. Come out to celebrate this 2023 MLB All-Star and arrive early for Early Bird Saturdays. Gates open 2 hours before first pitch with live music, happy hour, and more. Plenty of ticket options are available. Get your tickets at Orioles.com/tickets.
It's game on every day at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Here, you are in on every play with 100-foot screens at Sports and Social, the best table games action, and FanDuel Sportsbook, all just steps away. The best bar bites and drinks to indulgent steaks and curated cocktails. Your game day only gets better when matched up with Live's distinguished dining options. Late game, no problem. Our luxury hotel awaits. Live Casino and Hotel Maryland is the place to be on game day and every day. For more information, visit www.maryland.livecasinohotel.com. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Hike to new heights. The best view is yours in Washington County. Our iconic scenic overlooks provide some of the most breathtaking vistas in the Mid-Atlantic. Some are very easy walks, some can be driven to, and some are the payoff for a moderate to difficult hike. All are near quaint small towns that offer great dining, shopping, hiking gear, and more. Explore our 5 national parks for iconic vistas and wineries with breathtaking views. Visit our quaint historic towns and make your stay unforgettable. Learn more at visithagerstown.com. Maryland, be open.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
The Maryland 5-Star returns to iconic Fair Hill October 19th to 22nd, marking the next chapter in Maryland's equestrian tradition. Best described as the triathlon of horse eventing, you won't want to miss this thrilling sport. Enjoy a fall festival with local fare, retail vendors, and tons of family fun. Come for the event and stay for the experience in Cecil County, home to the Chesapeake Bay waterfront with vibrant small towns and accommodations to suit every desire. It's the place to be in October. Visit Maryland5star.us for tickets.
Back in live here on the Bat-Around on a beautiful Saturday morning in the Towson/Baltimore area. We are into the second hour of the show, and that means we are into sounding off with Zachary Allen Goodman. Zach, what do you got for us today?
Well, Stan kind of brought it up a little bit earlier. The White Sox had a tumultuous week. It was a...
Tumultuous?
Yeah.
I always think of mulch when
really?
You put the mulch into mulch.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know why you think that. Anyway, White Sox, they're 50-79, and they had a week from hell. That's what I would describe it as. I'm going to bring up a tweet that is from John Nelson. He's at @SoxMachine_Josh on Twitter. I don't know what affiliations he has, but anyway, he put this out. I'm going to quote it. Week covering the White Sox. Sunday, Hahn has 1 year left. That was in the news. Monday, White Sox exploring relocation. Nashville was the city that was named in that relocation article, by the way.
Why would the White Sox move?
I don't know, but that was in the news on Tuesday. Monday. Tuesday, Hahn and Williams fired. On Wednesday, Getz reported the next GM. Thursday, Sox allow 5 home runs, lose to Oakland. And then Friday, yesterday, 2 fans are shot in the stadium, which is probably one of the wildest, when it comes to...
How did they get into the stadium with a gun?
I'm genuinely... I have no idea.
How does that happen?
I have no idea. 3D printed or something? I have no idea. But nobody died, luckily, at least yet.
How do you 3D print a
that's
gun
been
in
that's
a
been
stadium?
that's been a thing. I mean,
you can 3D print anything. I get that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
How do you 3D print a gun in a stadium?
I don't know. And clearly, their security team is not doing a good enough job to go through people's bags or whatever it is. That's insane that happened. Insane. And, that's not even what the segment's going to be about. That's probably the most insane thing to happen all baseball season when it comes to fans or stadiums or whatever it is. Two people get shot inside a stadium. And that's not even what I'm having this segment about. It's just part of this week for the White Sox that was just unreal. And then we heard the news, and Josh didn't even put this in the tweet, that Tony La Russa has made a return to the White Sox as an advisor. Now, Jerry Reinsdorf, we know Stan's talked about it in much detail. We've talked about it as well. Jerry Reinsdorf feels like he owes things to Tony La Russa, and that's been well covered and well documented. He was probably one of the worst managers the White Sox have had in the past God knows how long. Hall of Fame manager, incredible manager in his past, couldn't keep up with the times, failed as the White Sox manager. After firing Rick Renteria, who I thought was actually a pretty good manager. I believe Rick Renteria, he brought them to the playoffs multiple times.
Is he minging at all anyway?
I was going to say, I'm shocked he doesn't have like the Angels job or something, because I don't know. But it's very shocking that he's out of the league. They bring back Tony La Russa as an advisor this week. It seems like to me that Jerry Reinsdorf is doing what we hope John Angelos went to in Baltimore. We see Jerry Jones kind of do it with the Cowboys, and Stan said it really well. It's owners believing that they're the baseball people, that they know how to run baseball teams and make baseball moves when you've literally hired people to do those things for you. And, I don't think Hahn or Williams, from what I've read over this past week, did the best job in Chicago. I don't believe that. I mean, the team wasn't that good this year, and it was never really built for a playoff run. That division's easy. They probably figured, hey, with this team, we might be able to beat out Cleveland or any of the other teams that may be at the top. But the point is, Reinsdorf clearly tries to meddle in just about everything that happens in this organization. And we certainly don't want that to happen here in Baltimore. And then to bring back a guy like Tony La Russa, who is probably one of the more hated people in Chicago at the moment for what he did to that team and tore it apart, and they haven't been good since then.
Didn't he fall asleep in the dugout?
He did fall asleep in the dugout at one point.
That's ridiculous.
He was a train wreck, and because he hadn't managed in 20 years prior to that.
No, it'd have been 10 years.
10 years. Okay, 10 years prior to that. The guy is, Hall of Fame manager, but he hasn't kept up with analytics, the times. Players didn't really get along with him very well. It just wasn't a good move. And now to bring him back, it's a horrible sign of the fans. It's almost like... if you're a White Sox fan right now, and you're looking at what Jerry Reinsdorf is doing, you're saying, I don't know how I can support this team at the moment with the way they've operated. And then you hear that people are getting shot inside the stadium, and... just the worst week ever. Now, basically, all their top executives are gone. They're going to have to replace them. Getz is the new guy that's reported to be GM. I'm not sure it's been confirmed yet. We'll see how well of a job he does. Apparently, he's been an up-and-comer in the industry for a little bit. So, we'll see. Good luck to him. But the White Sox are every bit a mess as the Rockies, the Angels, the other two teams that I constantly sound off about. They're all bad. Really badly run by poor owners.
Yeah.
Best way to put it.
Yeah. And the thing with La Russa... he's Reinsdorf's buddy.
Yes.
I get that. An advisor is like, okay, it's a title so that this guy can get a paycheck. I get that too. But it's a bad look.
It's a really bad look.
It's a bad look. I don't know how much impact it's going to have on the
Probably not a lot.
franchise. Like, I don't think he's going to have his hand in on anything.
No.
I think it's just like, hey, Reinsdorf's like, hey, you want to come hang out with me for every home game? And, I'll pay you, $250,000 a year to do it. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's hang out and drink 3 bottles of bourbon every night.
Fall asleep during the game.
Yeah, you can fall asleep in the air conditioned suite that I owner's box that I bring you into every game. I don't think it has any impact on the team internally.
Yeah,
externally, it's a bad look.
Yeah,
it's a bad look, and the White Sox are bad. And it's crazy, man, because I remember. When you're looking at this team, it's Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert and Tim Anderson and Jose Abreu and
Giolito was at the top of his game at that point.
And Lucas Giolito, and you're super excited about the fact that now they've drafted Andrew Vaughn. And
Dylan Cease was really good.
Cease, and this team is going to be incredible for a long time. They have a lot of young, controllable guys. They're going to be good for a decade.
Right.
And how quickly they've fallen off of a cliff because of contrasting personalities and just really poor decisions by ownership, which makes you nervous in Baltimore.
Sure.
It's a good sounding off because it's a legitimate gripe that this team is a train wreck.
Do you buy the Nashville thing at all?
The what?
The Nashville relocation rumors.
No.
I don't either.
I mean, maybe John Angelos will be the owner of the Nashville team and leave our poor
there you
Orioles
go.
alone.
There you go.
Maybe that will be the case.
Him and Jerry can team up.
I think that more so. I think what we're more likely to see is expansion to 32 teams in with Nashville getting a team.
I mean, like I get Nashville is for the geographic element of it and having the Titans in Nashville, it makes sense to say, okay, every time a team wants to relocate, Nashville's the spot. But it gets weird and kind of old. How like
they've still got to build a stadium.
Right. There's nothing even there. There's no existing infrastructure. There's nothing there. Every time we hear about a team willing to move, it's like Nashville. It's very odd.
I do believe that Nashville will get a baseball team.
But an expansion team.
But I think it's going to be an expansion team. When they start building a stadium, that's when I'll believe something's going to happen.
Right.
You know, right now I have no reason to believe anything is on the happening in the foreseeable future because they don't have a stadium.
Right.
And they won't approve a team moving there, and they won't approve an expansion team there until there's a stadium being built.
And it's going to take 2 years.
Or until they have plans to build the stadium.
Right.
Until that, we're minimum 2 years.
Right.
And that's when they get plans to build the stadium.
You've seen how long in Oakland it's taken for them to. They've been talking about moving for the past 5 years, maybe more
Probably
than that.
Longer than that.
Yeah, longer than that. And Las Vegas is the location they ended up deciding on, but it took a while to get there, and they're probably not even in the process of building that stadium yet. I don't know, but I'm assuming they're not there yet with that. These things take time. And to constantly just throw around Nashville. The Orioles are moving to Nashville. The White Sox are moving to Nashville. The Rays are moving to Nashville was a rumor a while back. Then Montreal got brought up as well. I think that the owner might have said something about that. Relocation rumors are the worst. Hate them. Awful. But the White Sox just had the worst week ever. They had relocation rumors, a shooting inside the stadium. Tony La Russa comes back. They're now 50-79.
Give up 5 home runs to the A's.
Dylan Cease had like a 7 earned run game this week. Just brutal.
I think that was last night. And it's funny you bring up the Montreal Expos because they're part of the first game recap in Orioles banter.
The Montreal Expos as the Washington Nationals, I'm assuming. No, okay.
Ryan Mountcastle and Austin Hayes combined for 4 hits and 2 home runs, but Gunnar Henderson stole the show with a go-ahead game-winning 2-run shot in the bottom of the 8th as the Orioles became the first AL team to reach 80 wins, taking down the Rockies 5-4. The Rockies became the first team since the 1970 Montreal Expos to lose 5 consecutive games while leading or tied in the 8th inning. Matt Manning allowed just 1 hit, 1 base runner, and 1 run over 6 in the 3rd innings, and Parker Meadows hit a walk-off 3-run homer and a 4-run 9th as the Tigers 1-hit the Astros, winning 4-1. Carter Kieboom homered, Jose Menezes drove in 3, and Yonadon, allowed 2 hits over 6 shutout innings in the National 7-4 victory over the Marlins. Garrett Cole struck out 11 while allowing 1 earned run over 7 2/3 innings and was backed by 2 DJ LeMahieu home runs as the Yankees helped out the Orioles with a 6-2 win over the Rays. Kyle Schwarber and Alec Boehm homered to back 6 solid innings from Christopher Sanchez in a Philly 7-2 win over the Cardinals. Mitch Keller threw 8 shutout innings as the Pirates cooled off the red-hot Cubs 2-1. Tanner Bybee threw 6 innings of 2-run ball, and Ramon Laureano homered and drove in 3, proving the difference in a Guardians 5-2 win over the Blue Jays. Freddie Freeman had 4 hits, and Max Muncy drove in 3 to lead the Dodgers past the Red Sox 7-4. Nick Allen homered amongst his 4 hits, driving in 5, and Ryan Noda had 3 hits and 3 RBIs of his own as the A's routed the White Sox 12-4. Patrick Sandoval struck out 7 over 6 innings and 1-run ball to lead the Angels past the Mets 3-1. Rowdy Tellez drove in 4, and Brendan Woodruff struck out 11 over 6 innings in a Brewers 7-3 victory over the Padres. Manny Machado homered in the loss. Sonny Gray dominated, allowing 1 run in 7 innings, and the Twins hit 3 home runs while handing the Rangers their 8th straight loss, 12-2. Jakes Peterson tripled twice and drove in 3 to lead an offensive surge by Arizona as they won a shootout with the Reds 10-8. The Mariners 1 through 4 hitters combined for 11 hits and 5 RBIs as the Mariners hung on for a 7-5 victory over the Royals. Bobby Witt picked up his 8th triple in the loss. He has been on absolute fire since June. And finally, Michael Harris II had 3 hits, including a home run, and Spencer Strider struck out 9 over 7 innings of 1-run ball to lead the Braves over the Giants 5-1. Zach, what's on tap today around Major League Baseball?
Well, it's been confirmed by Andy Kotzka, I believe is how you pronounce the last name, that DL Hall is on his way to Baltimore as a bullpen reinforcement. So maybe we'll see DL Hall tonight. But
in the 9th inning.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
It could happen.
Maybe.
It could happen. He's been successful as of late.
Or as Roger would say, maybe, baby.
Oh, boy. I'm going to get into Cleveland and the Blue Jays. That one's in Toronto. That's our first game of the day at 3 o'clock. Logan Allen, Yinjin Ryu. That's, again, 3:07, Guardians and Jays. Max Fried goes for the Braves. Ryan Walker for the Giants, 4:05 in San Fran. Julio Urias goes for the Dodgers. James Paxton, the vet lefty, goes for the Sox, 4:10 at Fenway. Jordan Lyles, Logan Gilbert, Royals and Mariners, 4:10 at T-Mobile. Jake Irvin, Yuri Perez, Nats and Marlins, an in-division matchup, NL East, 4:10 in Miami. Clark Schmidt goes for the Yankees. Tyler Glasnow goes for the Rays, 4:10 at Tropicana Field. Hunter Brown goes against Eduardo Rodriguez, Astros and Tigers, 6:10 at Comerica Park. Your Baltimore Orioles start Kyle Bradish, 7:05 tonight at Oriole Park against Chris Flexen and the Rockies. Orioles look to pick up a second straight win with DL Hall in the bullpen. Chase Silseth, Carlos Carrasco, Mets and Angels, 7:10 at Citi Field. JP Sears, Tuki Toussaint, White Sox and Athletics, 7:10. That's in Chicago. Hopefully a better night for the Chicago White Sox. Hopefully nothing crazy happens.
I don't care if it's a better night or not. Who the hell cares about the Chicago White Sox?
Padres and Brewers, Pedro Avila, Freddie Peralta, 7:10 American Family Field. Javier Assad goes for the Cubs. Colin Selby goes for the Pirates. That's 7:10 at PNC. Max Scherzer, the vet, makes another start for the Rangers. Joe Ryan goes for the Twins. That's 7:15 in Minnesota. Dakota Hudson, Zach Wheeler, Cardinals and Phillies. That's 7:15 at Citizens Bank Park. Final game of the night is 8:10. It's an early one this week. Reds and D-backs, Fernando Cruz, Zach Davies, 8:10 at Chase Field. That's what we got.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what we got.
That's early. 8:10 is a early last game, and 3:07 is a late first game. It's odd.
It's a
weird.
Yeah.
Could be around preseason football. Maybe they did that. I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's week 0 of college football.
That's also true.
I just remembered that because I had my picks for Press Box for Glenn Clark Radio.
Okay. Are you usually on, or do you just send it to them, and how does that work?
I just send them.
Okay,
got
it.
Picks. Griffin sends me in an email the games, and I make my picks. So this week you've got Navy taking on Notre Dame in Ireland, in Dublin.
Okay.
You've got San Jose State taking on USC, and you've got Hawaii taking on.
So the Notre Dame matchup's the only one anyone cares about, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember.
And Navy's not winning that game. Like there's zero.
No, they're not winning. They're not
chance.
winning that game. Notre Dame is favored by something like 17 points.
Okay.
So I took Navy. I took Navy to win the.
Well, maybe
not to win, but I took Navy to cover.
In the better round, we can break that down, I guess.
We don't need to.
Okay. I'm not a college football guy. Like I know very little about college football.
Yeah.
Very little.
Neither do I, but it keeps me more. The one thing I hate is I still work in the restaurant on Saturday night, so I still have to miss Saturday baseball games and Saturday football. And I like college football. I really do. But I don't have an opportunity to watch it because I always have to work.
Like if Maryland is on and I'm doing nothing, then I'll watch it. Or like there's a great bowl game or something where there's two huge teams in it from a huge conference. Maybe I'll watch it, but it just doesn't do that much for me.
So you got the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. I had no idea that was their name.
That's a cool name.
They're taking on Vanderbilt. That is today at 7:30 on the SEC Network. Vanderbilt favored by 17.5. I took Hawaii because Hawaii, they always have a really good offense. And Vanderbilt's not ranked. I think Vanderbilt will win, but I don't think they're going to win by 18 points.
I've never heard of Vanderbilt as a legit football school.
Yeah.
Not their thing.
San Jose State Spartans, the number 6 USC Trojans. San Jose, they have a really good offensive line. They've got a decent quarterback returning, and they don't turn the football over. USC has to win by 31 to cover. I don't think that's happening. Not week 1 of the football season.
No.
So I took San Jose State. Actually, now that I look at it, I took all the underdogs. And then the Navy Midshipmen against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. That's at 2:30 on NBC. I took Notre Dame favored by 21. I took Navy. They're not losing by 3 touchdowns. They always play Notre Dame hard. It's always a good game. Last year they almost beat them. So, anyway, it's a baseball show. Like you just said, Andy Kotsko, Adley Rutschman's big tits reported it first, and Andy Kotsko confirmed. Maybe it was the Baltimore Banner that reported it first, but it's usually ARBT.
ARBT. Number 2. He's ARBT 2 now. So somehow this guy is legitimately in the Orioles organization. He was at dinner with Mike Elias, and he's posting pictures of Mike Elias. It's creepy. Like, it's really weird.
It's so funny. It's a burner account. Like,
it's sure.
Clearly a burner account. I think it's hilarious.
I think it's creepy. Like, Mike Elias, if he finds out who this is going to fire this guy. Undoubtedly.
You think so?
Yes.
I don't know, man.
He's leaked a lot of stuff.
Watch it be like Mike Elias' brother. And
Maybe.
Watch it be Mike Elias.
No, well, there were pictures of Mike. I mean, I guess he could have had someone else take it, but still,
man.
I don't know.
I think it would be freaking hysterical.
It was Mike Elias.
I think it's hysterical anyway because it's clearly a guy who has close ties to the Orioles.
Tweeted. So there's this restaurant in San Diego, and when they were in San Diego, they went to this restaurant. Clearly, the Orioles front office, and he said Lou and Mickey's, which is the restaurant, was good. And there's a picture of Mike sitting across the table looking down at his phone. Like, that is the creepiest thing ever.
Well, so. How would Mike Elias not know who this guy is? Because the picture was obviously taken from across the table. Unless this was somebody who's clearly not in the Orioles organization, and they sent that picture. It might be somebody.
I don't know.
This guy might be close friends with or married to.
Could be
somebody.
Could be just travels with the team. Who knows?
It could be a woman for all we know.
Sure.
We have no idea who this is, but I love it. It's hysterical. And they the news that they report is like legitimate.
It consistently comes out about 15 minutes before like the big guys get on it. You know, the Andy Kotskas of the world or Rockabacos, whoever it is. He consistently she or whoever it is consistently breaks things. And it's Lou and Mickey's was great with Mike Elias sitting there. It's so weird and so creepy. And then Baja Rick's was the other one he posted. Go look at the pictures if you haven't seen it. It's weird. Downright weird.
Yeah, see, you think it's weird and creepy. I think it's friggin' hysterical.
If I found out about this person, I'd file a restraining order. Seriously, if I was Mike Elias. Unless it's him or his wife.
Oh, you'd file a restraining order?
Yeah, if I'm getting my picture posted, if I don't want it all over Twitter, that someone's following me, and then
I think it could be Mike Elias. I don't think he cares. I think he probably thinks it's funny too.
Like, think about like if someone was just stalking you and posting pictures of you on.
Dude,
I don't know.
Somebody created a Twitter account with my picture from a Facebook post.
Oh, nice.
From years ago. I'm talking like 2016, this picture. 2015, 2016, this picture was taken. And they created their own Twitter account called Vol Pally. Called Vol Pally. And they created this Twitter account just to crap on me.
By the way, my mom was Googling the show the other day, and she Googled your name, and it came up with Paul's Valley in, like, Oklahoma or something. Oh. There's a place called Paul's Valley. Isn't that awesome? That's awesome. I like that. By the way, AJ wants to know where you got the orange and black leash for his dog. I want two. I don't know what he's talking about. He's maybe on your on your Facebook page or something, or Twitter.
I
don't know.
On
okay,
Facebook,
okay, cool.
And there's a picture a video I posted of Bruce from a year ago. We actually don't have that leash anymore.
Okay.
And you'll have to ask my wife. She's the one who got it. But you can probably just. I think she ordered it from like Amazon.
Okay.
But it was a 6-foot leash. It was orange and black, and Bruce was still a puppy.
Okay.
And it's a video of me walking Bruce, and when I take Bruce for walks, he thinks he's controlling everything. He grabs the leash with his mouth and walks with the leash in his mouth like he's walking me. And he did it as a puppy. He's done it since the day we brought him home, and he still does it today. And nice. I think it's like the cutest thing ever.
That's funny.
He's such a good dog. And no, he's not named after Bruce Springsteen. He's named after.
I wasn't even going to say it.
He's named after Batman. Well, we have Ken Weinman coming on the show.
We do.
Minutes. Ken and I are both we have two things in common. We are very passionate Orioles fans. It's like our first love next to the people in our lives and dogs. And our dogs are both named Bruce. His dog is actually named after Bruce Springsteen. Mine is named after Batman.
Ken would be very happy to know that I'm seeing Bruce Springsteen 3 times in September. Yeah, so I'm very excited for that.
He's never going to come on the show again after you tell him how much I
oh my God,
for Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, he probably won't. We shouldn't do a segment on it while he's here. Don't say anything.
So DL Hall coming up, reported first by ARBT, the second apparently, and Andy Kotzka confirming for the Baltimore Banner. Look, if Felix Bautista is going on the 10-day IL, if it's a 60-day IL, be concerned. 10-day IL, as soon as he came out of the game, that was going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not like they were going to be like, oh, his arm just got tired. He's going to pitch again tonight.
I don't think they're going to put him on the 60-day. Yeah. I think they're going to put him on the 10 and say, you know what? It's fine, and then move him over there if they have to eventually.
Yeah, which is exactly what's going to happen. Maybe not the it's fine thing, but they'll put him on the 10-day IL until they know exactly what's going on. For all we know, like Stan said, it's a muscle strain. Maybe it's a bicep strain like what they had with Danny Coulomb. But let's not freak out and say, oh, God, DL Hall's here. That means Bautista's done for the year. It means that they made a corresponding roster move because they know Bautista's not going to pitch for a couple of weeks minimum.
Or, and I'm just throwing this out there just in case, Jack Flaherty, if there's something, maybe he goes on the injured list. He's had that soreness.
It's not going to be Flaherty.
I'm just providing an alternate alternative, just in case.
An alternate alternative.
Yeah, well, look, Jack Flaherty clearly not feeling his best. He's not pitching. He's shut. It seems like he's shut down like for a very short period of time for the moment. Mm-hmm. He's sore. He doesn't feel right.
I'm not saying that Jack Flaherty couldn't be going on the IL. I'm not saying
I doubt it.
But I'm saying that I think that this is a corresponding move for Felix.
Most likely.
You know.
Let's see what ARBT says. We'll have it first.
I love it. I just absolutely.
Hopefully in the next half hour.
But look, DL Hall has figured it out at the minor league level as a reliever.
Seems like it.
He's been throwing strikes. He's velo's back up to 98 again. So he's throwing strikes. He's got 4 wipeout pitches, man. Yeah, I love the move that he's coming up. I think it sucks because I think he was coming up soon regardless. I think it sucks that it has to be because of a Bautista injury.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that he's going to be here. And look, this is just step one in keeping that bullpen going strong. And there's no doubt, and I'll get into it later in the show, towards the end of the show, there's no doubt that this bullpen is still a weapon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what DL Hall has. I'm a little bit scared because we've seen in the past he's had some really good outings. He's also had some not so great outings. And I look at more of that start he had against Tampa Bay, and that clouds my memory, I guess, a little bit because it wasn't his best outing.
That was a year ago.
That was a year ago as well.
A year ago. I mean, when he came up for his one outing back in April, he struck out 7 in 3 innings.
That's true. I'm going to choose to believe that DL Hall has not changed all that much as a pitcher since last year and at this time. But I don't know. We'll see.
He was really good in September last year.
He was. And for
his fielding independent pitching was like 165.
Yeah, it was really low. I was about to say that. The numbers certainly proved that he was a little better and certainly unlucky defensively. I mean, he was at like a 6 ERA, I think, with a FIP of 1.65, which is just unheard of, which means this defense screwed him over, basically, more or less. That's what that means. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with DL Hall. It's a worthy shot, and let's, if there's any guy to replace him, I guess it's that. AJ saying that he is wondering if we're trusting DL Hall or Tyler Wells more. I'm probably on the Tyler Wells train.
If they're going to have somebody fill in as a closer, right now, I think internally, I think it's going to be Danny Coulomb.
Yes, I agree.
I think he's going to get the 9th inning. But if it's going to be we need a dominant, hard-throwing closer, it's probably going to be, I would imagine it would be Tyler Wells.
So I think for Tyler Wells, and my theory with this is that he's going to come up around September 15th, and then he's just going to not leave the roster until everything's over and said and done with, because I really don't think they want to stretch him out anymore, and not stretch him out is not the word, but use him more than they have to. I really think they want to limit his innings.
They sent him to Bowie to keep him close. They sent him to their Bel Air pitching academy.
Yep.
And he's in Norfolk now.
Mm-hmm.
I think September, you're talking 3.5 weeks from now.
Yeah. I believe that.
No, it's actually 3 weeks from now. I don't believe that it's going to be that long. I think he'll be back in a week.
By the way, Ryan and I had a probably 5 or 10 minute discussion last week on the show about whether this Bel Air pitching lab is actually a real thing or a metaphorical thing. It's actually, where is it?
It's because I know Steve Johnson works there.
Oh, okay.
I by the way, I faced Steve Johnson.
Oh yeah,
in a baseball game in my 30 and over league a couple of weeks. It was our second to last game of the year, and he walked me.
Nice,
which was cool.
We had Steve Johnson on the show, not that.
We did.
Couple year ago or so.
I went up to him after the game and introduced myself and said, "Hey man, I'm Paul Valley. You were on my show, The Bat Around." And he was really, he doesn't throw as hard as he did in the majors. Obviously, he's throwing maybe 70, 75, but his secondary stuff was just nasty. But so he pitched well. He gave up 2 runs in 4 innings. We ended up losing that game by 2 runs.
That's pretty cool.
I pitched well. I threw 2. There were 2 pass balls, allowed 3 runs to score, and that was the difference in the game. Anyway,
AJ said AJ's really proud of you. AJ's really proud of you. I'm proud of you too. That's pretty impressive. Not gonna lie. You know, what is he, like 30, 35? Yeah, he's 35. Look at that. So that's pretty good. You know, Paul, that's pretty impressive. Former major league pitcher, you know, still at a major league age. It's pretty impressive.
And I pitched against him. I don't think I gave up a hit. I think I got him to pop out. And I think I walked him once.
Yeah.
I think I walked him once, and I think I got him to pop out. But anyway, doesn't matter. 30 and over baseball, and my season's over. So his season's over too. They didn't make the playoffs either.
Too bad.
Yeah, too bad. We're we were supposed to talk this entire segment about Adam Jones. Adam Jones retiring as an Oriole on September 15th at Camden Yards prior to the game against the Tampa Bay Rays. This is one of the most important players in the history of the Baltimore Orioles. You talk about, you have your guys with their, and Stan talked about this. You've got your guys with their retired numbers. It's Jim Palmer, Brooks Robinson, it's Cal Ripken, Earl Weaver, Eddie Murray, and Frank Robinson.
Yep.
Of the 5 players who have their numbers retired, you're going to be hard-pressed after those 5 players to find a more impactful player in the history of the Baltimore Orioles. And you can talk about Boog Powell. You can talk about Nick Markakis is one of my all-time favorite Orioles. I love Nick Markakis. It's the same reason I love Jordan Westberg. I think he's cut from the same cloth as Nick Markakis. Adam Jones' importance to this community cannot be overstated. He was instrumental in helping this team win more games than any team in the American League for over the course of 5 seasons. He was active in the community. He was the heart and soul of that team. If Nick Markakis was the quiet leader, Adam Jones was the face and heart and soul of that team. And every team needs one of those guys. I love that the relationship has been repaired and rebuilt with the Orioles, because when we heard last year that the Orioles hadn't reached out to him in 4 years, people can say, "Oh, the phone works both ways." No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You tried to trade this guy who has 5 and 10 year rights. You tried to trade him. He didn't want to go, and then you never and then he left for Arizona. There was no goodbye, Adam Jones from the club. The fans appreciated him. We all knew he was leaving, but then did not reach out to him for 4 years. The phone works one way in that instance. Yeah. He's not going to call you. You got to call him. And they repaired that relationship. He was Mr. Splash a little bit ago. Yep. He's doing a local podcast with Jerry Coleman, and he is
which is really good, by the way.
Yeah,
really good.
I've listened to it. It is really good. And Jerry Coleman gets a bad rap. I
actually like him.
I was his producer at 105.7 The Fan for a little bit, and it was hard producing for him because he's very particular and has a lot of demands. Yeah, really nice to me. He was really nice to me. He told me how great of a job. I would have personal phone conversations with him, and he told me how good of a job I was doing. He's a really nice guy, and a lot of his on-air character is a little bit of shtick. He is that guy, but it's really toned down behind the scenes.
I believe it.
I really liked Jerry Coleman, one of my favorite guys there. And Adam Jones, obviously, the two of them together do a really great job. And then the fact that Adam's going to have an on-field retirement. And I would not be surprised if they retired his number and inducted him into the Orioles Hall of Fame. I think that they're going to, at the very least, induct him into the Orioles Hall of Fame immediately. Mm-hmm. Nobody's worn his number since he left.
Right.
And I don't see anybody wearing his number. His importance, he was the face of the franchise when they came back from obscurity and made the playoffs in 2012, made them 3 times from 2012 to 2016. He was the face of the franchise.
Yeah.
How do you feel? I think that they should retire his number. There are teams that retire. I mean, we see it from the Yankees all the time, and he was no less of a player than Paul O'Neill.
Oh, no.
Right?
No.
There are players who are not in the Hall of Fame whose numbers are retired by their organization. I think Adam Jones deserves as much as anybody to have his number retired by the Orioles, even though he's not in the Hall of Fame.
He was the modern day Mr. Oriole. I mean, he was the guy, and he's number 10. He'll always be number 10. If there's ever another number 10, and if they don't retire it, it still won't be the same. He is the number 10, and he meant a lot. I mean, obviously, he was here for 11 years. He, like you said, carried a lot of really good teams, and he was the star in a lot of those. He was an all-around player, a great center fielder, good hitter who sometimes got a little too aggressive. But look, Adam Jones meant so much to this team, so much to the community. I cannot see a scenario where they don't retire the number. I'm very confident in it.
You think so?
It may not be now, but I think it's going to happen at some point soon.
I can see how they wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that they should.
Okay.
You're confident that they will.
For example, Terrell Suggs is just now going into the Ravens Ring of Honor. I could see it happening in a year or two where they say, okay, Adam Jones is joining the Orioles Hall of Fame and retiring the number at the same time. I could just see that happening.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I think they expect Terrell Suggs to make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he should.
Right?
He should.
I think, and there's some controversy around Terrell Suggs that you kind of want to get enough time.
Not the man Adam Jones is.
Yeah, that you want to kind of get time in between.
Yeah.
So But it also took them, it really only took them 3 years to do it with Ed Reed. And Ed Reed still played in 2013. And they retired his number. Did they retire Ed Reed's number? No, because people still wear, no.
No, it's retired. Absolutely retired.
Yeah, they retired Ed Reed's number, put him into the Ring of Honor.
Yeah. Man, that would have been a travesty. I
don't think they retired his number.
I mean, no one's worn it. Certainly no one's worn 20.
No one's worn 52 for that matter.
No.
So, I mean,
I'm very confident 52 is retired. I'm almost 100% positive.
Nobody's ever going to wear it. Nobody's going to wear 20. Nobody's going to wear 52.
And even if they don't retire it officially and put the number up in left field, that's fine. As long as no one wears it, I think it's a totally different situation than Mike Mussina. Stan brought that up, and I'm going to disagree with him here. It's a totally different situation.
You were too young to remember.
That's true, but Adam Jones is known as an Oriole and Oriole only.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks of him as a Diamondback or a Mariner. Nobody really cares about that. He's an Oriole.
Nobody thinks of him as a player in the Japanese league.
Right.
Adam Jones is a Baltimore Oriole.
Right. That's true. Mike Mussina is thought of as an Oriole and a Yankee. If you don't live in Baltimore, you're not from here, I think a lot of people are going to think of him as a Yankee predominantly. That's just my opinion.
That sucks because Mike Mussina is my favorite pitcher of all time.
The Yankees just get more media coverage the way it is.
His 97 postseason performance is among the greatest of all time.
Yeah,
and
for
nobody
sure.
talks about it because the Orioles lost that.
I mean, his numbers were unreal. Unreal.
He had 15 innings pitched, 25 strikeouts, 1 earned run.
Yep.
And they lost both of his starts.
I remember talking about this. We did that one series a while back on the show. I think it was in the offseason where we talked about like some of the best all-time performances in the playoffs and stuff like that. And he unbelievable. But I think his career, as soon as he became a Yankee, since they get more media coverage, he became, to a lot of people who don't live in Baltimore, a Yankee as much as he was an Oriole.
Well, and that's the thing. He spent 10 years in Baltimore. He spent 8 years in New York. He played in his only he pitched in his only World Series his only World Series appearances in New York. Had his 20-win season in New York. He was a better pitcher in Baltimore.
Yeah,
sure. His best years were in Baltimore. And he was still very good in New York. Still has an American League record. I think it was 17 consecutive 11-win seasons. Which is I believe it's an American League record. And he did this in the American League East in the heart of steroid era. Yeah. Deserves to be a Hall of Famer. Probably shouldn't have had his number retired by the Orioles because he went in without a team on his head.
Yep.
And like if he went in as an Oriole, maybe they would have thought about retiring his number. Here's the thing, though. I agree with Stan when Stan says giving his number to Josh Towers literally the season after he left Baltimore.
It's petty.
It was bad.
Yeah,
it was a bad
petty.
look. And the fact that you've seen guys like him and Daniel Cabrera and Brad Bergeson wear number 35. Adley Rutschman, to me, is the only person who's deserved to wear number 35.
Yeah, I mean, if it was someone that wasn't Brad Bergeson or Josh Towers, who were fine players, don't get me wrong, but they're not the Mike Mussinas or Adley Rutschmans of the world. They're just not.
And one day, we're thinking that we'll see 35 retired by the Orioles.
You would think.
Assuming that the Orioles are able to keep him, because apparently, according to the owner, they're going to be they'll be financially underwater if they keep Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson. We're going to get into that with Ken Weinman coming up here after the break. Today's show brought to you by PressBox's Glenn Clark Radio, which is the definitive place to find the best daily discussion of Baltimore sports. You can watch the show every weekday from 10 to noon at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or you can listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio with podcasts available on iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. You never know who might pop up on GCR. This week, the guys called up with Orioles pitcher Jacob Webb, retiring former Ravens linebacker Brandon Copeland, Commanders cornerback and Baltimore native Kendall Fuller, and new Towson football coach Pete Shinnick. You can find those interviews and more right now in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature at PressBoxOnline.com. When we come back from Inside Access on 105.7 The Fan, Ken Weinman, that's next on the Bat Around.
It's game on every day at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Here, you are in on every play with 100-foot screens at Sports & Social, the best table games action, and FanDuel Sportsbook, all just steps away. The best bar bites and drinks to indulgent steaks and curated cocktails. Your game day only gets better when matched up with Live's distinguished dining options. Late game? No problem. Our luxury hotel awaits. Live Casino and Hotel Maryland is the place to be on game day and every day. For more information, visit www.maryland.livecasinohotel.com. mdgamblinghotel.com. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey Birdland, Felix is coming when the Orioles take on the Colorado Rockies at Camden Yards on Saturday, August 26th at 7:05. Be one of the first 20,000 fans 15 and over in attendance to receive a Felix Bautista bobblehead. Come out to celebrate this 2023 MLB All-Star and arrive early for Early Bird Saturdays. Gates open 2 hours before first pitch with live music, happy hour, and more. Plenty of ticket options are available. Get your tickets at Orioles.com/tickets.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand.
Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org.
It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
Soak up summertime fun in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouth-watering eats, and endless entertainment. Cheer on the O's at Camden Yards. Pick crabs by the waterfront. Beat the heat inside a world-class museum and make memories that will last a lifetime. Go to baltimore.org for more information and to plan your visit.
America's biggest bike race returns to Maryland Sunday, September 3rd as 120 of the world's best cyclists race the Maryland Cycling Classic presented by United Healthcare. Come enjoy the free fan zones and festival with interactives, food, and drink beginning at noon. Then see the exciting race conclusion from 3 to 5 p.m. in the Inner Harbor. Come be loud, be proud, and let the world hear you. For more information, go to marylandcyclingclassic.us.
I'm Michael Jangrandi, president of AJ Michaels, your carrier energy expert for 44 years. Save money, energy, and make your home more comfortable and virus-free. Find us at ajmichaels.com. That's ajmichaels.com.
All electronic tolling is here to stay in Maryland, and DriveEasyMD.com helps you cruise a little easier. We're Maryland's tolling resource, home to Easy Pass, pay-by-plate, and video tolling. It's never been easier to pay your way. DriveEasyMD.com. We'll keep you moving.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
It's another exciting weekend of affordable family fun at Prince George's Stadium with the Bowie Bay Sox. Last weekend of the regular season kicks off on Friday the 8th with Adley Rutschman Night. Mystery Adley Rutschman giveaway items for the first 750 fans. Fireworks on Saturday with the return of our 1K beer run. See how fast you can complete the race while getting 3 beers down. And our Birdland celebration on Sunday. Free autograph items for the first 1,000 fans. Get your tickets now by calling 301-805-6000 or anytime online at baysox.com. The Bowie Bay Sox. Let us be your 9-inning vacation.
You feel that? That's the sound of football coming back, and now's the time to place your preseason bets with Superbook Sports. Superbook is the most trusted name in Vegas, and now you can use my promo code GlennClark23 to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, they'll match your first bet up to $250 with the promo code GlennClark23, all one word, no spaces, 2 N's in Glenn. Don't miss out this football season. Win some money with Superbook Sports and that promo code GlennClark23. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, back in here on the Bat Around, rolling right along on a beautiful Saturday in Baltimore. And joining us now from Inside Access on 105.7 The Fan, he is Ken Weinman. Ken, good morning. It's Paul. It's Zach. How are you today?
I'm good, guys. How are you doing?
Doing really well, thank you. We really appreciate you taking some time to join the show today. When we asked you to come on, there was a big story going on. Perhaps a little bit bigger of a story right now is Felix Bautista coming out of the game with 1 strike left last night with apparent arm discomfort. We've seen DL Hall is coming to Baltimore today, which probably means that we're looking at Bautista going on a minimum the 10-day IL. How big of a loss is this for the Orioles to not have Bautista closing games for them, or at least for the short-term future?
Well, short term you can get by, but long term it's big. And I know baseball history is littered with guys that have stepped up out of nowhere and helped teams make deep runs in the playoffs and even won a World Series. But Felix Bautista is a difference maker. He's been arguably the best and most dominant closer in baseball. And if you don't have him, there's really nobody else they have that can do what he does. When it happened last night, I was hoping he turned his ankle, maybe jammed his knee. I also, and I don't know anything, but the fact, I think if they had some good news, they'd be telling us by now.
Agreed.
But just hopeful. I worry that they're not getting him back this year, and that, for lack of a better term, that would just suck.
Yeah, I mean, you worry that they're not getting him back this year, and if it's something really serious, maybe not even next year. You're hoping it's not that. Maybe it's a bicep strain or something like that. From what we saw, he walked off the field under his own power. He walked off, so we know, and they even said they said it was arm discomfort there last evening. Hopefully it was just a precaution. The fact he didn't take a warm-up pitch to try anything, they knew something was going on in there. Hopefully it's more precaution than anything else, but it would certainly hurt this team to lose him. However, Ken, I will say the bullpen in August has a 2.73 ERA, and that includes giving up, I think it was 12 runs out of the bullpen in the 3 games against Houston. And the current bullpen, alone without Bautista, has a 3.2 ERA amongst the active players in that bullpen. So they have guys that can step up. Is this a situation, do you think that it makes the Orioles less of a contender this year without having Felix Bautista?
Contender for the World Series?
Yes.
Yes, it does. So to me, and it hurts me to say it, but yeah, if you don't have Felix Bautista, because Felix Bautista is the kind of guy that can steal a game for you in the postseason. Like we've watched him do it on the road 4 times. And again, there won't be any ghost runner in the playoffs, but he can pitch that extra inning, and he's not going to give up a run, and you can steal a baseball game. I don't know, Fuji was a little better last night, but if you're playing in a different park, he gives up at least 1, maybe 2 home runs last night. There are guys. Cristino Perez has pitched better. Obviously, Webb has been a godsend. For 28 teams to decide, that guy is not interesting to me, and then this guy is now high leverage for the Orioles, it is kind of a miracle at this point of the year. But there's nobody that had maybe Cano gets back to close to where he was early this season, and he was virtually unhittable. But Felix is the trump card. He's the guy that changes everything. So that it makes a huge difference.
Now, lost in the shuffle with all this, Ken, is the fact that Gunnar Henderson hit an amazing 107-mile-an-hour home run in the bottom of the 8th inning to give the Orioles that lead and put Felix Bautista in the game. You're seeing a guy, if he's not there yet, he's a superstar in the making. How big is that home run when you're facing a team in the Rockies who had just blown 3 consecutive games to the Tampa Bay Rays? They're coming in here with one of the worst records in baseball, and you're on the verge of losing the first game of the series against them. Gunnar's home run last night, how big was that for the Orioles, and how big is it amongst their biggest hits of the season to this point?
No, it's huge, but we just saw in Tampa, this is what Colorado does, right? Like the Rockies, they had leads late in all 3 of those games in Tampa and figured out ways to blow them. And so they did that last night. But Gunnar, I think, is already a star. I think Gunnar is going to end up being the best player of this group. He is an absolute stud. He's clutch. Left on left last night to get that home run. Last night early was a little frustrating because they had Freeland on the ropes and they kind of let him off the hook. And part of it is you've got 2 sub-major league hitters batting 8 and 9 in your lineup. When they sent McKenna up to bunt after the Westberg leadoff single in the second, what are we doing here? Like, if you don't trust him to hit and they don't trust him to hit, then why is he here? Like, bring somebody else up that can give you an at-bat, a quality at-bat. And Mateo, it's the same. Like not being able to get out a bunt the other night. I think Joey Ortiz would be able to get out a bunt. McCann has had balls at his face that he's been able to get down for bunts multiple times this year. So, yeah, it was a frustrating game early, and they took advantage of that horrible bullpen late and stole a baseball game, but that's what good teams do.
Well, and this team, they're a very good team, 32 games over 500, the first American League team to 80 wins, the second best record in all of baseball. They keep finding a way. Are we past the point where we need to stop doubting this team and really start looking at them as this team can go all the way this year?
Well, again, that the Felix Bautista variable comes in there. But if you would ask me that yesterday, I would say yes. And hopefully, knock on wood, we get some good news with Felix. But absolutely, and they're gonna. I'm not happy with what they did at the deadline, and we'll see what Jack Flaherty is. I'm a little more bullish on him still than others, because he's had 3 starts. One was really good, one was okay, and one stunk. And hopefully he gets back in there and is able to help this team out. I wish they would have got another bullpen arm, and that has nothing to do with Felix, because they weren't going to get anybody that could have replaced him if he got hurt. But they're going to have some internal guys come up. Means is going to come up. Wells is going to come up. We know DL Hall's on his way up. So they can lengthen this bullpen a little bit. And I'd like to see them get another legit bench bat. Maybe that's Hicks, who comes back at some point. But I just, yes, the short answer is yes. I think if Felix is able to come back, I think they can win the whole thing.
And every good team that has a chance to win a World Series has something in common. That's they, generally speaking, have an ace at the top of their rotation. Grayson Rodriguez has come up and in 7 starts since coming back from AAA. His ERA is 3.24. He's looked really good. But the guy who's looked even better is Kyle Bradish. He's tied. He was going into yesterday before Garrett Cole started. He was tied for the best ERA in the American League and 4th best in all of baseball. Garrett Cole's getting all the Cy Young buzz, but Bradish had the same ERA, fewer walks, fewer home runs allowed, and a comparable WHIP. At what point are we starting to talk about Kyle Bradish as not even a dark horse candidate, but maybe a legitimate candidate for the Cy Young? And is he the Orioles' ace at this point?
Well, he is their ace. I don't know if he's going to get enough attention for Cy Young consideration just because the wins are low. And, yes, we've seen with guys like Greinke in the past and Felix Hernandez that guys with low win totals can win Cy Youngs. But I think he's not as sexy a candidate as Garrett Cole. But I do think he's their ace. I said at the All-Star break that by the end of the season, he would be their ace and it wouldn't be close. And he's pretty much living up to that. He's 1, and I guess Grayson's 2 right now, and Kramer's 3. But yeah, I think next year when you pencil this rotation in, and maybe they bring in somebody from the outside, but the way they handle acquisitions and trades and free agency, I'll believe it when I see it. But
right.
I'd love to see them go out and get a big arm to add to this rotation. But I think Kyle Bradish is your opening day starter next year, assuming he's healthy.
Yeah, I thought that he had a chance. The way he pitched down the stretch last year, I thought he had a chance to be their opening day starter this year. That obviously didn't happen, but he's been as good as advertised, if not better. And then you look at, you're going into a postseason series, it's probably Bradish, Grayson, and Kramer as your first 3 guys. Do you trust the Orioles' rotation in a series with those 3 guys taking the mound potentially twice each?
Well, but here's the thing. In a 7-game series, they're going to go with a 4-man. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know yet who that 4th guy is. Is it Jack Flaherty? Does it end up being John Means? So,
yeah.
I trust them more than I did, say, a month ago. Like Dean Kramer, the Orioles, I think, are 19-4 or 16-4 in his last 20 starts, and he's 4-1 with like a 3 ERA and a 1.075 WHIP since July 1st. Dean Kramer's pitched really well, and it's time that people started giving Dean Kramer credit. So I trust them more than I did, but let's be honest, when you get into the postseason and say they take on Texas, and, Texas has some, Jordan Montgomery was the guy, if you were going to go get a St. Louis starter, that was the guy I wanted. And he's in Texas now with Scherzer. And if Evaldi comes off the IL, or if you face Houston and they added Verlander to Framber Valdez, there's some legit arms on these other playoff teams. The Orioles are sort of under the radar, but I do trust them more than I did, say, a month ago.
And they have that bullpen behind him again. No Felix, but Cano, as you alluded to, that he's been a lot better. 11 straight scoreless outings. 10 straight scoreless outings. Perez 11 straight. Webb 9 straight. Danny Coulomb comes back. He gets the 1-pitch save last night. You've got Hall coming up. You're going to get Means. You're going to get Wells back. I give the Orioles a fighter's chance with what they have in that. Ken, I still have to believe their bullpen's a weapon, is it not?
It is. It's just you don't have that bazooka at the back end if he's hurt. There are times when he comes into games and you can just tell the other team wants no part of it. And he's been so good this year, and he is the best and most dominant closer in all of baseball.
Yeah.
And It's just not. You just can't. They have good arms. They're not lost without him, but you can't replace him.
Yeah, and I don't mean to keep harping on. It's just the biggest story going on in Baltimore. The previous biggest story, Ken, and you had a rant for the ages earlier this week, is what's going on with control person John Angelos. He suspends Kevin Brown for basically nothing, then tries to act as though he had nothing to do with him and is conducting an internal investigation. We find out he's asking for an extra $300 million in addition to the $600 million from the Maryland Stadium Authority, plus public land in the form of Ravens parking lots to build on, which doesn't make any sense. And then he goes with it was either the New York Post, New York Times, I can't remember which one it was. He does an interview with them and says the Orioles core won't be the Times, thank you, won't be lifelong Orioles, that giving out $150 to $200 million contracts to put the Orioles financially underwater if they don't drastically raise concessions. Sorry, I'm so used to talking to Stan. Ken, is this a negotiating tactic, or is this just John Angelos not knowing how to speak in public another time?
I don't think it's a negotiating tactic because where are you negotiating from? There's legislation. Like, you sign this thing, you get this money. There is no more money. It's legislation's in place for this amount of money. And why would the Ravens want to do anything with him when he hasn't? He just assumes they want to be part of this. And this whole battery fantasy is, and it's just that the battery was basically built from scratch in the suburbs of Atlanta. You are here in the city. There's limited land. You cannot recreate something that's been built in the suburbs in the city with limited land. It's a joke. I know that the story in the Times, it seems based on the reading it, that the interview was done when the Mets were in town. So it was done a couple weeks prior, but still, it's very interesting timing in the midst of a season where the Orioles might win 100 games for the first time since 1980. That's where you decide to tell the fan base that you can't afford to keep your players, and you'll be, what was it, underwater, equilibrium elasticity, whatever that means. And this is the same franchise that just paid Chris Davis $100+ million and seemed to survive it. And Tampa and Pittsburgh and Cleveland are giving out $100 million contracts, and they seem to survive. And they don't have, and I know the regional sports network isn't as valuable as it was, say, 20 years ago, but it's still more valuable. They have a more valuable entity than Tampa or Pittsburgh or Cleveland. It's silly is what it is. Stop crying poor mouth. If you care about the city, run for office and sell the team.
Right. And at this point, and people keep asking me, when is baseball going to force this guy out of ownership? Can we just squash that right now? Because Major League Baseball, the owners would have to vote on it and agree to it. And it's not like, as far as we know, there's no misconduct going on. The guy's just kind of putting his foot in his mouth every time he talks to the public.
It's more buffoonery than anything else. I don't think they'll do that. But on the flip side, anybody that's worried about him moving the team, he needs those same votes to move, and they're not going to let him do that. So, I get it. I'm old enough to remember the Colts moving, and so I get the agita about this whole thing with the lease. And the other part of it is his father was not a beloved owner here, so there's a lot of stress. But he ain't moving the team because Major League Baseball won't let him move the team. This is not 1984. Right. He can't just pack up in the middle of the night. But that said, it is crazy to me, the ask and the idea that $600 million isn't enough. Just take your money, your free money, and sign the damn lease, and let's modernize Camden Yards because it needs work. It 30-year-old stadium needs a paint job. Yeah. And let's move on. And by the way, if and when Peter passes, that might be when John decides to cut bait because the estate taxes are going to be a mess.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And he said that he's not selling, the Orioles will not be sold for the foreseeable future. But, I mean, what else is he supposed to say at that point? Because it's basically saying, my father has to die for that to happen. Yeah. So, we won't get into that. A little bit better news going on in Baltimore right now, Ken, aside from the Orioles being the best team in the American League, is Adam Jones is returning to Baltimore on September 15th to retire as an Oriole. In your mind, where does Adam rank all time amongst players in the history of the franchise?
Off the top of my head, he's got to be top 10 Oriole, does it? Like, he's arguably the greatest center fielder in the history of the franchise. He was the face of the renaissance of baseball here from 2012 to 2016, culminating with the 2014 division title. I think he is beloved in this city. I do not think that he always was right. Like, I thought it was he has the right as a 10-5 guy to veto a trade. I thought that was a huge mistake on his part to veto that trade. If he played well in Philly, that owner was throwing money around. He gave a ton of money to Andrew McCutchen. He might have gotten a payday from Philly. Instead, he ends up going to Arizona for 1 year, and then he's in Japan. And his skills declined quickly. Like, he went from an all-star to a guy that wasn't starting in Japan in the blink of an eye. But he was a great Oriole, and he's beloved in this city, and I'm glad that whatever was going on between him and the organization has been squashed, and I think it's awesome that he's coming back on the 15th.
I agree. When I saw that he was coming back and retiring on that, I immediately went and picked up tickets for that ball game. And because I want to be there. I want to see this. He was an important part of this franchise, one of the most important players in the history. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Imagine this scenario on the 15th. Orioles win in walk-off fashion, and Adam Pye's the guy who gets the walk-off hit.
Oh, my gosh,
Mark Trumbo's not there to throw cold water on it anymore. Like that would be awesome.
Do you believe when Mark Trumbo says he had nothing to do with the Pye stopping that that's true at all?
No.
Yeah,
I think Mark Trumbo has no sense of humor.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, with Adam, I'd be shocked if his retiring as an Oriole doesn't also include them putting him into the Orioles Hall of Fame. I think that's a foregone conclusion that that's happening. But, Ken, nobody's worn number 10 since Adam played here. Are they going to retire? I don't know that they're going to do it at the ceremony, but do you think that the Orioles are going to retire the number 10 in Baltimore?
No, because they only retire numbers of Orioles that go into the Baseball Hall of Fame as Orioles. Hence Mike Messina's number not being retired. So I don't know that anybody's going to grab that number maybe anytime soon, but no, they have a policy on retired numbers, and retired numbers are guys that go to Cooperstown. And, I love Adam. Adam's not going to Cooperstown.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Is it an actual policy or just kind of a way they do things?
Well, it's their policy, so it's the way they do things. So it's sort of we're talking semantics, but yes, that's the way they do things. Gotcha. Like if Mike Messina would have went into the Hall of Fame as an Oriole, they would have retired his number. They would have built a statue for him. It's that simple. When he went in with the blank hat, the number is now being worn by Adley Rutschman.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's been worn by a number of other guys, too, like Josh Towers and Brad Bergeson, but that's a story for another day. And finally, Ken, we do play a little game here, but before we get to that, I just want to talk to you a little bit about Shohei Ohtani. Tears his UCL again. Chances are he's headed for a second Tommy John surgery in about a 4-year period. And the Angels have not been good since deciding not to trade him. How bad do the Angels look for not trading him at the deadline? And how much does this second Tommy John surgery impact his contract that he could be asking for this coming off season? Because now he's not pitching next year. Is he getting that mega deal that we were anticipating before this injury happened?
Well, the first part, they look awful, but could you imagine being on the other end and trading like a Juan Soto package for a rental, and then he gets hurt again, and your rental is just a DH? It would be just tragic. I think the Angels were kind of delusional to think that they could contend, and not only did they keep Ohtani, but they went and bought, and it's been a disaster. People a lot smarter than me think he's still going to get big money. So I'm going to trust in that. The fact that they think in a year plus he'll be able to pitch again and be that dominant pitcher and one of the best hitters in baseball. Plus, you got to think about this. The money that he brings in, just like the Angels make so much money in advertising, just having him on the team, it makes a little sense to pay him a little more because you're going to make a little more. So I think he's still going to get a $500 million if he wants it.
Yeah, I think he's going to get a ton of money. I think that you could have said $600, $700 million maybe if he was still going to be that pitcher next year. The fact that he's not pitching, I think the number is going to be less, but still going to make him. They're still going to make him the highest paid player in baseball. And look, Ken, he's a unicorn, man. We throw that word around a lot, but the fact of the matter is, I'm not putting it past him to come back and be as dominant as ever when he comes back from the second surgery. He's a freak.
Sure. Well, let's come full circle here. When he walked off the mound the other day, he looked kind of similar to Felix walking off the mound. They both knew something was wrong. They other than that, they seemed kind of fine, but arm discomfort is ominous, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. Ken, thank you as always for coming on the show. We certainly appreciate it. Before we let you go, and I believe you may have played this game a time or two before with us, we play this game on the show called Take to Rake, where we each pick the player that we think is going to have the best offensive week between today's show and next week's show. The only rule is you can't take the same player that the guest took last time. Our last guest was Brent Harris, and he took Jordan Westburg. Ken, because you haven't played the game in a long time, we're going to let you go ahead and pick first. Only guy you can't take is Jordan Westburg. Everybody else is available.
Oh, man. You know what? I'll go chalk. I'll go Adley.
All right, you're going to go with Adley Rutschman. Zach, you won with Ryan Mountcastle last time, so you get to pick second here.
Give me Gunner.
No way.
We'll go Gunner.
No way.
You know, I was gonna pick. There's other options. There's other good options. Yeah. Everyone's hitting right now.
Give me Anthony Santander.
Yeah,
I think that 3 days off from the back injury, I think he's back and rearing and ready to go.
That's what I was gonna say. I decided not to say it, not to give you any ideas, but you had it figured out.
Is it fair for me to assume there was a time you played this game and we were picking between Renato Nunez and Hanser Alberto?
Yes, that is fair to assume. That is
amazing how far we've come.
We had Ryan Blake at the beginning of the show at the beginning of the season last year at one point pick Roof Neto Door for some ungodly reason. So there's been some slim pickings.
Well, Jason Lockenfora, who is Ken's partner on 105.7, picked Pedro Severino one week when we had him on. So that was interesting.
He did. That was
That's interesting because he hates him.
That's so funny. You can give him some crap on the show or maybe behind the scenes if you want about that, Ken. So, Ken, thank you so much for joining the program. Always a treat when we get to speak with you on the show. Hopefully we'll see you again down the line, all right?
All right, man. Anytime.
Take care. That was Ken Weinman from 105.7 The Fan Inside Access, which he hosts with Tim Barbalace and Jason Lockenfora. Ken is one of my favorite people to talk Orioles baseball with because he's as passionate about this team as I am. And, man, some of his rants have just been so epic on the air about this team. He had one, I want to say it was back in 2013, 2016-ish range, that was just so freaking good, man. It was like it was like spoke to my heart about the franchise, man. And so glad he could come on the program today. Today. I was trying to say today and then getting back to Take the Rake and put them together. Getting back to Take the Rake. So Ryan Mountcastle, over the last 2 weeks, he slashed 306, 359, 490, 848. Jordan Westburg, 238, 244, 310, 554. Adley Rutschman, 300, 364, 360, 724. Cedric Mullins, 227, 222, 432, 654. The reason I had a little bit of irritation was the fact that I think Cedric had it won for me going into
I wasn't going to play without you.
And I wanted to pick. I was going to take Gunnar Henderson, and Gunnar Henderson went absolute bananas this week. And the reason I was going to take Gunnar is because he had looked overmatched the previous week, but the last game he hit a couple of balls hard, and I think he had hit he had doubled or tripled in the game, and I was like, ooh, that bat speed looks back. I think he's going to have a big week. And then, look, my wife had an incident. I had to drive more than about 2 hours away to be by her side.
Oh, wow.
And, it was out near Hagerstown.
Okay.
The hospital she was at was in Hagerstown.
Okay.
We were both going to a wedding out there, and she was in the wedding.
That's a good place for a wedding.
Yeah, the pictures, they gave us a sneak peek of the pictures on online last night, and they are beautiful.
Was it in the mountains, that kind of thing?
I don't know, man. I've never been to the venue. I don't even know where the venue was. I was just going out there to because the wedding was Bree Brown. A lot of people know Bree on Twitter. And I've known Bree since she was 16, 17 years old, something like that. No, she wasn't that young. She's not much younger than me. She is younger than me. But she and I worked together at Bonefish. I knew Bree before my wife knew Bree.
Okay.
And but then she and Bree met, not through me, and they became really close. Bree was in our wedding. Laura was in Bree's wedding. All I knew about Bree's wedding was that it was outside somewhere close to Hagerstown, and I had to drive out there after the show last week. Laura had to drive out there. Laura had to drive basically 2 hours Friday night to a rehearsal dinner out there, and then 2 hours back. Then she had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning to meet our friend Megan, who you all know as Asia Megan on Twitter.
Yep.
To meet our friend Megan down at her place in Baltimore, and then drive 2 hours up, do the wedding, 2 hours back. It was going to be a long day for her, and she's pregnant, man. She's 20 weeks today. By the way, our daughter is the size of a sweet potato.
Sweet potato.
So
okay.
I was close to an Idaho potato. She is the size of a sweet potato. But yeah, Laura had a lot going on, and it was just a bad situation happened with her. But she's good now, waiting on more things. But she's good right now.
Good.
So that's great. But yeah, the whole point of the whole story is I was ready to take Gunnar Henderson last week, and he had a big week, and now Zach gets to take him because Ryan Mountcastle was able to get hot again for this past week.
Well, I told Ryan.
I'm calling shenanigans here. You guys used my wife's a terrible situation against.
Oh, that's definitely what it was.
From taking Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah, we planned it. You know, we on the break we were like, how can we screw Paul over and take the rake? We really wanted to do it. No, but I would have called you if you had been on a golf trip or something, but that wasn't the case. So anyway, it's okay. You'll live.
All right. This is definitely the first year I'm going to lose take the rake. I
don't know.
I think I've won twice in the last 3 months.
I don't know.
Our guests have won a lot.
They have won a lot.
We
that's
gotta
what I was
stop
about to
letting
say.
them pick first. That's the problem. Although Ken came in and picked first, and he took Adley Rutschman, which is a good pick. Rutschman had 3 hits last night. He's been on fire, but Gunnar is Gunnar.
Yeah,
you know.
Always.
Anyway, we got to catch our final break. When we come back in, we will close things out with final thoughts. That's next on the Bat Around.
Hey Birdland, Felix is coming when the Orioles take on the Colorado Rockies at Camden Yards on Saturday, August 26th at 7:05. Be one of the first 20,000 fans 15 and over in attendance to receive a Felix Bautista bobblehead. Come out to celebrate this 2023 MLB All-Star and arrive early for Early Bird Saturdays. Gates open 2 hours before first pitch with live music, happy hour, and more. Plenty of ticket options are available. Get your tickets at Orioles.com/tickets.
America's biggest bike race returns to Maryland Sunday, September 3rd as 120 of the world's best cyclists race the Maryland Cycling Classic presented by United Healthcare. Come enjoy the free fan zones and festival with interactives, food, and drink beginning at noon. Then see the exciting race conclusion from 3 to 5 p.m. in the Inner Harbor. Come be loud, be proud, and let the world hear you. For more information, go to marylandcyclingclassic.us.
Catch that festival feeling in Charm City. Everywhere you go, you'll find exciting entertainment, delicious eats, and endless summertime fun. Cheer on the O's at Camden Yards, pick crabs by the waterfront, beat the heat inside a world-class museum, and make memories that will last a lifetime. Go to baltimore.org for more information and to plan your visit.
Maryland drivers, did you know you can save up to 77% on tolls with an Easy Pass Maryland discount plan? That's right, 77%. It's never been easier. Pick the plan that's right for you at driveezmd.com. We'll keep you moving.
The Maryland 5-Star returns to iconic Fair Hill October 19th to 22nd, marking the next chapter in Maryland's equestrian tradition. Best described as the triathlon of horse eventing, you won't want to miss this thrilling sport. Enjoy a fall festival with local fare, retail vendors, and tons of family fun. Come for the event and stay for the experience in Cecil County, home to the Chesapeake Bay waterfront with vibrant small towns and accommodations to suit every desire. It's the place to be in October. Visit Maryland5star.us for tickets.
It's another exciting weekend of affordable family fun at Prince George's Stadium with the Bowie Bay Sox. Last weekend of the regular season kicks off on Friday the 8th with Adley Rutschman Night. Mystery Adley Rutschman giveaway items for the first 750 fans. Fireworks on Saturday with the return of our 1K beer run. See how fast you can complete the race while getting 3 beers down. And our Birdland celebration on Sunday. Free autograph items for the first 1,000 fans. Get your tickets now by calling 301-805-6000 or anytime online at baysox.com. The Bowie Bay Sox. Let us be your 9-inning vacation.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
That first sip, that first bite, Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand.
Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org.
It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka dives into what's next for Lamar Jackson after receiving one of the biggest contracts in football history. Is Lamar ready to take the Ravens to the next level, now with a new offensive coordinator and new wide receivers? Also inside, we look at what new football coaches Brian Newberry and Pete Shinnick bring to Navy and Towson respectively. And we meet players from the college football and soccer programs around the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Welcome back to the Bat Around. I'm Paul. He's Zach. Uri Allen Goodman.
Uri Allen.
Zachary Allen Goodman. We did not mention to Ken that we have the same names for our dogs, although named after two different.
We should have done a Bruce Springsteen. We'll have to bring him on just to talk about Bruce Springsteen.
You can do
point.
that on your own Bruce Springsteen.
Oh yeah, my podcast.
Maybe he will host it with.
Man,
you.
like as much as I love Bruce Springsteen, that would be embarrassing. Like if I hosted a Bruce Springsteen podcast, it'd be a little weird.
22
yeah, like I
as big a fan is pretty embarrassing.
I don't agree with that. I think, Paul, that I can like whoever I want.
You can. You can.
I think I'm totally free. No, it's look, 3 times in September. It's going to be great. My dad was like, you're seeing the same set list, right? And I was like, yes. And I'm so prepared for it. I wish he would change it up. Like, if you look at Bruce's past tours, he's changed up the set list most of every show. Like, you went in not knowing what he was going to play. I mean, he has hundreds and hundreds of songs. It's been like the same set list all tour. I've already seen him twice this tour. So, see him 3 times more, same set list. I'll still have a great time.
In 2009... I saw Incubus back-to-back days.
Okay.
I saw them at an outdoor venue in Philadelphia on a Saturday, and then I saw them at Merriweather on that Sunday. And they played similar set list, but they played some different songs.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first... So I'd seen Incubus leading up to that weekend, I think 3 times prior, and they had never played Part of Me, which is my all-time favorite Incubus song. Saturday, they did not play it. Sunday they did, and it was awesome.
Did you cry?
No, I didn't cry. You know what though? I saw them at the Fillmore.
Okay.
In 2017, was it 2017? No, it was 2018. I saw them at the Fillmore in Silver Spring in 2018.
Okay.
2018. It was. Did I already tell this on the show?
No.
It was VIP. I did this all for free.
Okay.
By the way, like they were playing down there. It was the day of the concert. And I really wanted to go. I had nobody to go with me, and I'm talking to there were still tickets available. They were like $65 a piece. I'm talking to my roommate at the time, Danny, and she's like, "Hey, I have a friend who can get tickets probably for free to that concert. You want me to talk?" I was like, "Yeah." She talks to him. Not only can he get us free tickets, he got us free VIP tickets.
Nice.
And he got me a meet and greet with the band.
That's awesome.
So I got to go ahead of time, go backstage and meet each member of Incubus.
Okay.
Jose Pasillas, their drummer, he was just super cool. He was awesome. Ben Kenya, their bassist, he was cool too. Jose Pasillas talked. He talked to me and like had a legitimate conversation with me. Michael Einzinger, he had a conversation with me, but it just seemed like he was saying generic stuff that he says to everybody that he meets.
Thanks for being a fan, man.
Yeah. DJ Kilmore, I think he was really, really baked. His dreads, his locks touched the touch the ground.
Wow.
Yeah, so he was just really baked, and he was like giggling the whole time.
Nice.
And Brandon Boyd, the lead singer, was just super shy.
Yeah.
He was super shy. He talked to me, but he was very soft spoken. It's well known how shy he is. He was very soft spoken, but very grateful to meet each and every one of his fans, which is one of the reasons I love Incubus. Aside from I love their music, and one of the reasons I love Shinedown, very grateful bands.
Okay.
When you hear Shinedown, for example, I've seen them in arenas, and I've seen them at like Ram's Head, a small, very small intimate concert venue, and they are grateful to play in front of anybody.
That's cool.
And they let you know that
That's cool.
all the time. They're just good, genuine people. That's one of the reasons I like them so much. But it was awesome, man. Getting to meet my favorite band of all time in Incubus, and then sitting there VIP, and they played their entire Make Yourself album.
Okay.
And they started that concert with the first song from that first album, which I remember the first time I listened to that album. When I was 16, my girlfriend at the time had burned me a copy of that album.
Okay.
And I didn't have a CD player in my car, so I had a boom box.
Nice.
With D batteries.
Wow.
I drove my mom's minivan, so it was in between the two seats, and I would listen to it. And the first time I heard that song, the way the guitar comes in, when I heard it again in my 30s, watching them VIP and thinking about how much 16-year-old Paul would be freaking out, I'm not gonna lie, I got choked up. Sitting there watching my favorite band.
I don't blame you.
In the scenario in which I got to see this unfold, meeting the band,
That's cool.
having my
That's
picture
awesome.
taken with the band, it was awesome. It was a surreal moment for me, and I got overwhelmed with like all that nostalgia.
You should put like it printed out in 50 by 70 or something and put that on your wall, like just a massive Paul Valley with the band photo. Be pretty cool.
I do have a picture. I have a guitar pick. I have
like if I got a picture with Bruce Springsteen, it would be on my wall in the biggest possible picture format.
Well, see, the problem is it wasn't just me in the picture. It's
Oh,
a bunch
got it,
of
okay.
people. They were like 12 of us back there.
Other VIPs,
and so
got
we're
it.
all in the same picture
Okay.
with the band. So it's like I'll eventually put it on my wall, but it hasn't been a priority because it's like I have a pick that's signed.
Laura's gonna pull it down immediately.
No, she'd let me put it up. But I have a pick. I have original artwork from Jose Pasillas that's signed by the band. When I say pick, an actual guitar pick.
Okay.
And I have a picture, and it was a cool. And my VIP pass still. It's in a box in my basement. But it's in a box in my basement. Anyway, final thoughts. I have no idea what to expect from the Ravens game tonight. Like, I almost forgot that they were playing. It's crazy to me when the Orioles are this good. I still love the Ravens. I'll still watch every game with excitement. But like the preseason, it's just like I couldn't tell you aside from that there's a backup quarterback battle and there's a battle for that fourth running back between Wheaton?
Who are you referencing? Well, Melvin Gordon's one of them. That's in
Melvin Gordon. I think Kenneth Wheaton. Is that his name?
No, it is.
Wheaton?
It is. He's from ECU. Mitchell.
Mitchell.
Keaton Mitchell is his name, I
That's
believe.
it.
Yeah, sorry, I'm blanking too. Keaton Mitchell from ECU.
Keaton Mitchell, yeah, and he's looked really good. Had that shoulder injury, but they don't think it's serious.
Yeah.
So I don't have any. Like maybe I'll record the game just to have something to watch tonight.
I think they're going to play Lamar for a series. That'd be my guess because he really wants to play, and I really don't think you can take a guy who was injured for the greater part of last season. Not the greater part. That's
Lamar
not
really wants to play.
Lamar said he wants to play 100%. And Harbaugh said, "I'll leave it at that." So we'll see. I think he should. I don't think you can throw a guy into game action without playing in a game for as long as he has. I mean, practice is one thing, but the speed of an NFL game is so different from what you get in practices.
Yeah, they played against the Commanders in practice. And that was
but that's not a game, though.
Yeah.
That's not a game. I mean, you're stopping and starting when it comes to practice.
I'd be shocked.
I'd put him in. For a series.
I'd be
just
shocked.
one series.
Yeah, and then he tears his ACL and he can't play the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean that would be tragic.
I would say okay, and my sorry, that was who does that?
I've never heard that before.
Who does that? It was uncontrollable. I had no idea it was coming. It just came out.
Wow.
Anyway, my go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I think he should play. I just think a guy who hasn't been on the field in game scenarios for as long as he has, and that really goes for anyone, injured or not, in last season. I think they should play. Now, when it comes to guys like Darby, who didn't play last week and has to be the starting corner for week 1. Rock Sin, same thing for him. They should not be playing because they're so thin at that position.
Yeah.
Lamar, the chances of him getting hurt are a lot less than the chances of a cornerback getting hurt.
Every piece of wood you can find.
Is that wood? You think it is?
Yes,
Okay.
it's 100% wood. It's part of an actual basketball court.
I do remember that. You're right. Yeah.
Dobbins should not play.
Dobbins should absolutely not play. Dobbins, no.
And I don't need to see Zay Flowers on the field anymore. We already know.
It's just different for quarterbacks, and that's why I say it, because quarterbacks.
But if Lamar's going to play, they're going to have some of his good receivers out there.
Yeah. But Zay Flowers has played in both. I probably wouldn't play him a third time. I just think with Lamar, you've got to make quick reads as a quarterback. Incredibly quick reads.
What about Bateman?
Bateman should play.
I agree.
Bateman should play.
I think Bateman has more to prove than anybody.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
As far as you consider Bateman one of your top 3 wide receivers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But he has more to prove than Flowers. He has more to prove than Aguilar.
Bateman should play.
I think Bateman.
I had a dream last night that Aguilar tore his ACL and was out for the year. I don't know why I dreamed about that. I don't know.
Lamar should play. He's not going to get hurt.
It's funny. I told Ryan last week. I said I think Aguilar is a legitimately good wide receiver. A legitimately good. I don't think he's a star or anything, but I think he's better than a lot of the guys they've had here in the past 5 years.
I think he's going to have a legitimate impact.
He's wide receiver 4, and he could have been wide receiver 1 on the past 4 or 5 teams. He would have been wide
receiver 1 last year.
Yeah.
They were talking about that last year, about potentially signing him and making him wide receiver 1 last year, but. My final thoughts have nothing to do with the Ravens, and it's all about the Orioles bullpen. Like I said, 2.73 ERA in August. We've demonstrated again and again, Perez, Cano, Webb, how dominant they've been the last month. Coulomb back, Hall's here now, Wells means on the way. Bautista's out. But I firmly believe this team can still win a World Series.
Mm-hmm.
I firmly believe they can still win a World Series because I think that you can have Tyler Wells close. I think you can have DL Hall close. You can go closer by committee. I trust Bradish and Grayson in that rotation, and Kramer to a certain extent.
Okay.
We're still reeling from his terrible April, and every now and again he has that blow-up start, right? But he's been really good for 4 months now. I firmly believe that this team has the talent and the ability to win a World Series, and I think that they're young enough that they don't know that they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like everybody. Yes, if Felix Bautista was still around, I'd say maybe they're the favorites in the American League to go to the World Series.
Yeah.
But you're not going to tell me that this team without Felix Bautista can't do it. You're not going to tell me that a bullpen that's now going to have DL Hall, Tyler Wells, John Means, Danny Coulomb, Yenier Cano, Jacob Webb, a resurgent CNL Perez. You're not going to tell me that those guys can't get this job done.
Yeah.
I don't think the Orioles are going to skip a beat. Personally, I think you're going to see this team win over 100 games this year because they're past the tough part. They still got tough teams to play, but this team now, they're better than Tampa Bay. Stan said they've lost 3 starting pitchers. They lost 4.
Yeah.
They lost Shane Baz. They lost Jeffrey Springs. They lost Rasmussen, and they lost
most significantly
Shane
McClanahan. Yeah.
They've lost Wander Franco probably for the year, if not longer.
Maybe ever. Someone, Hector Gomez, who's the insider who reports on a lot of Dominican news, said that he thinks it's probably going to be ever. That Wander Franco never steps on a Major League Baseball field again. And if the allegations are true, that should be the case.
It's more than one minor from what we're
hearing.
But
this probably goes a while back. It's I don't want to speculate on it, but it's really bad for Wander Franco, and it's really, really, really awful overall.
Yeah, and I wonder if they have insurance on this contract.
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe they do. I don't know, but I mean, he signed that contract and then played like 80 games last year, and now this year he's maybe their best player, and he is not with them.
Just a sad situation.
Yeah, it's his own fault. They're allegations. They're allegations, but it's a big deal.
He's out for this year indefinitely.
Yeah.
I think there's no way, even if things aren't going to get ironed out this quick, where he's just going to be back all of a sudden. And I don't think fans would take that if he was. Yeah. I don't think fans would say, hey, all these allegations and we're just going to Again, I'm not going to speculate on what's going to happen here, but it's a really bad look for Wander Franco.
Yeah, really bad. Really bad look for the Rays in general. I mean, how do you know? How are you supposed to know? But just that with all the injuries on top of it, yet they've been playing good baseball. But
not really their fault, right?
But when the Orioles play them in September, I mean, they might already have this division locked up at that point. And if they don't, that might be the series where they lock it up.
Yeah,
lock it up.
Lock it up.
You lock it up. But no, I think that this team I like what's going to happen with their bullpen. Don't like what happened to Bautista. Let me be clear about that. But I like the direction of this bullpen with the rest of the guys that they have. I think that they might miss a little bit of a beat, but I don't think they're going to miss a big beat. I think that they're going to keep their stride and really, really put the world on notice.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's hope.
Final thoughts for you?
No, I mean that's DL Hall is going to be the big question mark. I haven't been a fan in the past. I still am very skeptical. Eric Garfield, friend of the show, is on here. You know him as Eric Birdland on Twitter. He texted me that he saw DL Hall down in Florida quite a bit, and he didn't go below 98 when he saw him. Yeah. And they were using him in 10 to 15 inning stints. Or 10 to 15 pitch stints, I should say. So that's more like 1 inning. That's going to be exciting. I mean, if he's throwing 98 plus, that's certainly the DL Hall we know and love.
With a wipeout slider, curveball, and changeup.
I should say you know and love, I guess. I still have very little confidence in DL Hall, but we'll see. We'll see.
Well, I have confidence in him as a reliever.
Yeah,
and
maybe a little more.
And I will say I've lost the confidence he'll ever be a big league starter.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Agreed.
they'll try and stretch him out again next year, but if he comes in and
they
dominates,
there is no upside to doing that. Yeah. Really, there's no upside. Yeah. But we'll see.
So we will see. Want to remind you, today's show has been brought to you by the latest edition of Press Box, which is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka dives into what's next for Lamar Jackson after receiving one of the biggest contracts in football history. Is he ready to take the Ravens to the next level with a new offensive coordinator and new wide receivers? Also inside, we look at what new football coaches Brian Newberry and Pete Sheddick bring to Navy and Towson, respectively, and we meet players from the college football and soccer programs around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. You can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com. Thank you to Zach for all the hard work he does for the show. Thank you to Stan Fan Charles for his weekly segment and to Ken Weinman for coming on. Really special segment with him today as well. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Without you, we don't have a show. Thank you to all of our fans and listeners. Without you, we certainly don't have a show. Guys, enjoy the Orioles series. Enjoy the Ravens preseason game tonight. We will see you next